Brother Edison, how are you?
Imani, I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I am really, really good, really good. The sun's
Excellent.
shining and
It's
it's the
shining over here as
weekend.
well.
You're very good. The sun's shining, it's weekend, and you're on the line with the wisdom. So
I
I'm very
wish,
good.
I wish. I never take claim to what I say. So
Good,
yeah.
and that's what is so that is what's so lovely about you. You're so humble, but so knowledgeable, as the audience are going to hear today. Now, Brother Edison, do you
Go
mind
ahead.
telling people about yourself, what you've been doing, how just who you are?
Okay. That's always a strange question because you never know where to begin. But as far as what we tend to do, I've created a concern ancestral essence where what
Yes.
we tried to do was take the sort of African traditional subjects and understandings and put it in a more contemporary way, which people can grasp and which relate to their life, as opposed to this abstract village kind of concept where everyone can't relate because they didn't grow up in that environment. The understandings that they speak of is the same everywhere around the world, and it's really pertaining to you and how you work. So essentially, we sort of took away all the names, the terms, and just got down to the actual main idea and body of idea, what was being actually expressed. So what I've been doing over the last 3-4 years is basically putting posts on Facebook, which is initially the stuff, but recently we started to, take classes or do classes down in London, Know Thyself, where we're literally trying to get people to understand how they work on the inside, how they connect with their own self and higher self, as people call it. When you get into it, you'll understand what that really is. So I'm just really trying my best to, work with my own ancestors, because I realized a long time ago that the conversations we have within ourselves are with somebody. And once you can define that, you can start to actually work with your family on a new level altogether. So essentially, I'm trying to bring that forward. So in a nutshell, yeah, we're really just trying to help our people, empower our people, but doing it from the inside out. We haven't got the economic power outside, but we've got the internal power inside. And the reason why everybody wants to be like us is really because us is where everything started. Okay.
Brother
So that was
Edison,
quite a lot in a
that
small
was yeah, that was that
go
yeah.
ahead.
What I'm gonna do is you've said so many things there, so I'm gonna break all those down and ask
Go
further
ahead.
questions, because we've got people who are listening who might not have heard this type of information before.
Okay.
But definitely they will find it riveting and want to know more. So I'm going to be that voice that
Please
asks
go
the
ahead.
more, if
Please
you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. Yeah. So
Not at all.
can anyone access anybody? Can anyone access their ancestral line and start getting information from their ancestors?
In honesty, this is what everyone has been doing all along. They've managed to convince you that you're actually working with nobody or nothing. As someone, like we said, as soon as you hear your own voice in your head, okay? Let's put it simply. Let's go to the beginning. Whenever you're reading, you have an internal voice,
Yes.
which you hear,
Yes.
okay? Whenever you're speaking to someone, you hear your voice at the same time you're speaking to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with that in mind, that internal voice is really how you understand yourself. Whenever you're having a conversation with yourself, you're using that internal voice. Yes? In order
Yes.
to understand a moment, you're basically talking to yourself, or you're talking within yourself. That's how you separate yourself from the outside.
For
So
sure.
effectively what truly happens is you hear words, you basically see if you recognize the word, and once you've done that, you then create an image in your mind that basically correlates to that word or that sentence you said. Yeah, this internal movie reel is really you basically what you deem as thinking once you have that internal movie reel of what you see, you then say, okay, you then ask questions. You sort of judge that moment. You say, oh, is that good or is that bad? Should I be offended? Should I not be offended? And then you go into a dialogue with other voices inside your head.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's that dialogue with?
So,
go ahead. This is where we go into the whole concept of this is where your ancestors, all different energies, are trying to influence you to act in certain ways.
So, you know that people sometimes, when people are told, to maybe meditate, meditate, or go into solitude. Why is it that people can find this almost, find it, really difficult, even find it, scary? What's going on there?
Well, one, they can't shut down the voices in their head, basically putting them into a state of fear all the time. Because education has done a fantastic job of presenting to you all the different things you should be afraid of. It's like you're walking through life with all these different laws. I need to have money, I need to have this, I need to have that. All these thoughts are constantly bombarding your mind, and you can't have any peace of mind. All right? So when you say you want to meditate, you do this naturally every time you basically ponder a thought. You've seen people many times, you're talking to them and they're not there. They've literally, you see them looking up into nowhere because they've literally traveled within themselves. They've got an image of what they've just heard and they're trying to process it with a different conversations and have a little internal discussion with themselves. That is a meditation that everyone does. All the time you're speaking to them. It's just the speed at which they return back from that meditation will determine whether they're with you in the conversation. You say, you've disappeared for a bit, and they've gone. Process that thought, try to come back with an answer, and if they don't get an answer, they'll come back and ask you more detail. What does that mean? What is that? What is this? So essentially, meditation is what we're doing all the time. If you can shut down your mind totally and then travel, the problem is with meditation, people don't always have a destination. They don't know where they're going with their meditation. They need someone to tell them, where should I go, what should I do? And they get there, oh, what do I do next? They haven't got an idea.
And do you feel that with, say, some, meditation as it is? Because I've also heard that even with meditation, they've managed to infiltrate meditation. And so when people are off somewhere, they're slipping things in. What's I mean, come on.
Well, no, because the thing is, because people don't actually appreciate that all meditation really is a journey within yourself.
That's right.
And you trying to have a better conversation with energies within you, ancestors, whatever energy. That's all meditation is. But they have given people what they call guided meditation.
That's right.
So once you're following someone's guided meditation, you're following that person's meditation. And you're trying to recreate in your mind what that person said. It might not take you anywhere because that person isn't you and doesn't know how your mind works. That's and right. What situations around you that are the ones affecting you.
Okay. So, there's so much going on there, and certainly I totally agree. Daydream, or they call it daydreaming.
Exactly, or they call it, daydreaming.
But what about where now they're saying people are hearing voices, and they're saying it's delusions and all the rest of it. What's going on with that? How do you distinguish between the natural ancestral voices that's surrounding you and guiding you, and voices that may be taking you in the wrong direction?
Well, this is unfortunately where religion has let everyone down, because they've proposed a concept which doesn't cover all that you are, all that you can be. So there are different energies and different intelligences that operate inside us and operate outside of us. But what most people are traveling through or actually working through every day is to shut down the unwanted advice that they have in their head. And sometimes try to listen to the good advice and trust the good advice. All of us have been in situations where something says, don't do that. That's not going to work out good for you. And you go ahead and do it and find out, oh man, I should have listened. How many times do you say that? All the time. And then sometimes you have other energies, which again, unfortunately, does not fall within the explanation of religion that do exist. And these energies effectively are putting people down all the time internally. These are the energies causing depression, because people in depression don't speak of the conversations that they're having within themselves, where another voice is telling them you're not good enough, you need to do this, you need to do that. And everyone's going through this, but these, again, is not polite or not accepted to speak about these things. The people shut down and just quietly go through it, and people are giving them drugs to suppress what they're not suppressing, the voices that are causing the depression, because they're not acknowledging them as things that need to be taken care of. So it's a very strange fact where all of us are experiencing these things all the time. We just don't have the language or the explanation to define them. And if we did, these are the kind of things we try and teach, how you define and have a greater understanding, so these things now fall into place. So you understand why the voices in your head are negative or positive sometimes.
Right. You know what I want to ask you? I just had this thought. You're doing a 10-week course, yeah? And what I just thought was, can you very briefly, because obviously this course is ongoing, can you briefly break down each segment of the course each week? What the topics are and the validity for us in this community. Is that something?
No, that's possible. We did that again. It can be quite involved, because the course has taken a whole new direction of itself.
Wow.
It's not to say we didn't have the course notes and everything planned out, but this is what we call ancestral. So therefore, what we do, or what I do, is every Sunday morning, because the courses are on Sundays.
It's you and another sister as well, isn't it?
Yeah, me and a sister, Gillian Bolton, as well.
Right.
She's a nutritionist.
Oh, right.
But what we tend to do is, or what I tend to do is, because, as we said, this is ancestral, I will sit down and have a conversation with myself every weekend on the Sunday before the class, as into what we're going to discuss. And I'll sit down with my ancestors, and we will have a discussion about all the different topics and things that they want to bring out.
Now, before we go into that, just explain, because people are probably thinking he's having a conversation with his ancestors, but his ancestors means that, these are ancient people. These are people that's past. How is he accessing them? And, this is the thing, this is what everybody really wants, isn't it? Everyone wants that wisdom, that sort of, enlightenment, that ability to reach, beyond, to transcend this world and still be here. So, explain that.
The sad thing is that sounds so glamorous. And the thing is, transcend that. In honesty, there's the simple fact that you're born onto this planet, which means that you came from somewhere else.
That's it. This is it. I always say, where were we? Where was that little baby? That beautiful little baby before that little beautiful baby came? Where was that baby?
Where was that conscious mind before it came in? The fact that brothers and sisters are so different, yet they share a similar appearance.
For sure.
Shows that their actual conscious, the actual individuality of who they are, is something separate.
From the family bloodline,
it's not,
yes.
Exactly. So they've travelled in to this body. And the capabilities that they had before they travelled in to this body was obviously infinite. They travelled from whatever dimension into this dimension. Okay, I go into that to explain that the real you, once you can access that, starts to slow down all this life around you. The problem we're in a breakneck speed to try and get to nowhere, all these artificial destinies that have been created. This is why whatever we achieve, we can't actually feel when it's outside of us. We need outside people to give us accreditation because we can't internally feel all the successes that we actually have.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, you get to the point that, like we were saying with the conversations that you have within yourself, that most people, you find that you're only as intelligent as the internal advice that you have.
Wow. Say that again. That is powerful.
You're only as intelligent as the internal advice you have. Remember, you don't actually think, you ask. Whenever you go into your mind to actually say you're thinking about something, you ask for some voice inside you to give you an answer to that question.
Because you're travelling within. When you think about the word question, it's a quest, isn't it? You're on a quest.
Exactly.
Going
Quest
within,
in energy.
yes. Wow.
Quest ion, quest in energy. So literally your energy, you send in an inquiry into yourself to hope that an answer comes from inside yourself so that you can present it outside.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Absolutely, yeah.
Who are you actually searching for? What information are you searching for? So you're only as wise as the person that is answering those internal questions.
So if you are not switched on to your ancestral line and you've just got a load of external that you've adopted and you are they're now swimming around in your consciousness, then you're going to have very limited abilities coming through, and that's going to affect the intelligence. Yeah.
It's the difference between remembering and creating. You're educated to remember certain facts and figures and details. The problem is these details again are hard to retrieve. Because again, they're not always true in every circumstance.
Yeah. So sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but this is just honestly, I'm just kind of this sort of information. It's just so it's so much, it's so good. But what I'm thinking is, I think I had a conversation with yourself, if I'm not mistaken, about the education, going into school and constant. It's like every year it's like what they're doing is they're putting all this nonsense information that is not worth anything to us when we leave, and it's and that's what's helping to the children, helping children to sort of no longer remember. Because if you look at little children, I think somebody said little children come in as geniuses, and we spend their first 7 years, dumbing them down.
That's right. Perfectly put. That's exactly what happens. Remember, a child is born speaking its original language. All right. When a child actually communicates, it speaks not from anything you've told the child. It makes a sound based on what it sees. Wow. So it's actually interacting with its environment. Wow. And again, this is why the child is able to see things, react to things that adults around have lost the ability to do.
Oh my God, yes. I'm totally with you. Because you see little babies looking and playing with the energies in the ether there, don't you? And you're kind of wondering, what are they doing? And they're having a great time. Yeah.
They're having a great time because they're seeing everything that is floating around.
Wow.
And then you go through the process of deprogramming them and reprogramming the child. By giving the child words. You give them a term, you give them an image, and then after you give them an image, you give them the explanation of that word and that image. And then after you've done that, you've given them the corresponding emotion to have when they see that image.
Wow.
So what you've effectively done is installed a program that is triggered by that original word.
Wow.
So if I say police, straight away you see the image of the policeman, you say this is the man I should be afraid of, and then he can put me in jail. All those things happen in a second just by saying that one word.
Yes. So many stimulants straight away.
Queen. Exactly. Queen, you see the image, you know she's the owner of the country, she's the one to be afraid, or you got to love her as well. These programs, all of them, are basically put into the child through the education system so So you have the original cloning program. Because you clone all the children to think the same, to actually speak the same, and to pass exams to show how well they've remembered what it is that you told them. So when they become adults and they're actually trying to think for themselves, they go to their memory, which is not a real energy
source.
It's not a real thing. It's something which you can retrieve. It can't speak. It can't do this. You have to search for it and try and retrieve it. Whereas what the child did when it was initially born, it worked from the other side of its mind, the right side of its mind, where it was actually able to create answers and interact with the information and ask the actual thing what was taking place. So what we kind of learned to do was slow down all the voices. Slow down all the voices so that effectively now when you're speaking to your ancestors, you hear the voices coming into your head. You hear that one that is saying, don't do this, don't do that. The ones you should follow, the ones that are trying to give you a little warning. And you slow the whole thing down until you actually start to remember who you are, why you're here, and what you're meant to do.
And that's the goal of being on the planet.
And that's why effectively all you're trying to ever do is to find your way home.
Yeah.
Because you come here, we say your life is your journey. Your life is your journey. And not the places you go, the life is your journey. And the people you meet to your destination.
Wow. Say that again.
Your life is your journey. That's why you're here. It's the time, all the process of you growing from small things to a large adult, and all the days of your life is your actual journey. And then the people you meet, your destination. Everything else is just furniture and story. Again, as you get older, you realize you can live 3-4 different lives. That at each time, that life, I was in this relationship. Everything was all I could see in my life was that relationship. Then it folded. Then I went into another relationship. Then I went into another relationship. And the original one is disappeared like it didn't exist. You just remember it slightly in fragments. But the thing is, at that time, that seemed all important.
For sure. Wow.
Shows you that your life is the actual journey, all of it. Even jobs. You may have sat down with a gentleman or a woman 5 years of your life every day conversing. Give you a couple of years down the road, you can't remember their name.
That's me. I can't remember half the people I used to work with when I used to be out there.
You can't remember them because
system.
in order to live, in order to experience new things, you have to drop old things.
Yes.
So you only have a certain capacity to hold so much information in your mind at one time. So you can't hold on to all that information. It's superfluous. You don't need it. The mind only uses what it needs what it needs right now.
Right. Wow. Yes, I hear all that, and I love that quote. Your life is your journey, people. You meet your destination. My goodness. So, wow. Talking about people. Oh, sorry, were you going to say something? No.
No, I'm just laughing because we initially started out on the whole course thing. But don't worry, we can carry into that later.
Shall we? This is the thing. Where do you feel better going? Do you feel better breaking down the course now? Or
I don't mind. Anything you like. Literally, like we say, it's all what we know, what we understand. These courses, again, initially, they were only supposed to be 2 hours, but we ended up doing 4 to 5 hours each class.
I've heard.
Because everyone was just engrossed, and we found as more as they asked, the information came out, and thankfully, we had a good understanding of the people we have.
What we'll do, because I want to come back to relationship, because you mentioned about people being a destination. But yeah, let's break down the course and just give people... because I think out of that will really give people an understanding of, what you're about and what, you're teaching people to, you're helping people to unlock and find, find access back to their own, destination, because it's like they've got us going the wrong way out there.
Yes. Definitely.
And you're trying to help people. Yeah, you're trying to help people to go back in. So tell us. So in the first part of the course, so part 1 of the course, what's the title and what's the
part 1, week 1, importance of ancestral connection.
Okay.
Okay? In a nutshell, what we wanted to remind people that they are ancestors returned. We wanted to have people appreciate when you're looking in a child's eyes, you're seeing an old soul in a young body.
Yeah. It's funny, I was thinking about that today. I was looking at my I've got a picture in front of me of my three youngest grandchildren, and I was thinking, wow, there's my ancestors, you know what I mean, coming again. And it's, so true, yes.
Will they come back to teach their grandchildren how to become good parents?
Wow.
Your children teach you how to be parents. You don't know how to be. Your child comes back and forces you to dig within yourself, to look for aspects of yourself you didn't know existed.
Wow. That is such a powerful statement, Brother Edison. I love that. Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised these seminars are going on for 5, 6, 7 hours when they were only supposed to be 2 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Effectively, so that's what you are. So you notice your character is unique. It's not pertaining to the environment or the story that you're actually in. Your parents may be totally different characters to you.
For sure.
Totally different. So you're a unique character coming in with a certain job, with what you've come here to do, to meet certain people, to help certain people, to even hurt certain people. Because sometimes people come with a vengeance to hurt someone that hurt them in a previous life.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? That sounds a little bit, because I understand the concept of, say, past lives and reincarnation and stuff. Is that kind of, whether you're using those types of words, but tell us a bit about this vengeance thing.
Okay, well, the thing is, you have to understand that you can't take a penny with you when you die.
No.
So all this acquiring of money, acquiring of wealth, acquiring of properties is what you're leaving for others when you die.
Absolutely. You can't even take your body temple with you.
You can't take it. You can't even take your body. But you can take your deeds with you. You
Say
can
that
take
again.
your deeds
Say that again. Say that again.
You can't take the money, but you can take your deeds. So if you hurt another person, created a sort of imbalance in the energy, I don't know, matrix between you and that person, where you took something from that person you didn't deserve. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay that thing back.
Wow.
To that person before you can move on to the next stage within yourself, because that imbalance exists in your soul storyline.
Yes.
So therefore, you will come back, meet that person, and that person will just hate you for no reason. So what did I do? Why is it you dislike me? And the thing is, you understand how these past life things work. You will have to go back and look, where did I wrong this person? Because I did it in this life.
So, what I want to ask you about that is so... I can see how that can happen. And what I would ask you, can that vengeance thing play out between, say, a boss and an employee, a parent and a child?
But this is the most classic story, mother and daughter, father and son, where you find a classic when you have two people, a mother and daughter, born on the same day. That's a classic situation where the mother was once the child and the child was once the mother.
Wow.
And effectively, they've come, that relationship can go one or two ways. It could be a case where they get on like a house on fire, because that's how they was. The mother wants the child wants to come back to look after the mother, because the mother did that for the child. Or, again, the opposite, where the mother was wicked to the child in a previous life, and the mother is coming back. No, let's get this right. Yeah, effectively, it's really just to say that the mother and daughter, the mother could really hate the daughter, because once upon a time, their roles were reversed.
Wow.
That the mother was once the daughter, and that child did that to the mother, so they're trying to get the child back.
So they obviously don't recognise each other consciously, because they're in different bodies, they've got different roles. But you're saying energetically they recognise each other.
On a soul level, they do. Wow. On a soul level, we all recognise each other.
Yes, for sure.
On a conscious level, we don't. on a conscious level, we're actually stuck in
Amnesia.
whatever story we believe we're in.
Oh my
You know,
God.
this is my name, this is my color, this is my race, this is my. By the time they've given you all the layers of story, which
You've
you are
forgotten
none
everything,
of,
yeah? Oh my God.
you're none of. You know, you're none of, and they don't actually explain. They give you the label, but they don't explain what's behind the label.
So what
So
about?
therefore,
Yeah, sorry, no, I keep butting in. I'm so terrible. Carry on.
Okay,
No,
go ahead.
Edison, carry on. It's just that it's so. This stuff is so. Oh my God, it just conjures up so much, so many questions, and I'm trying to, act as the voice for people listening, but they might want me to shut up and let you speak. So go on, Edison, carry on. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Like we said, in that scenario, you have situations where the parent, loves the child,
Yes.
but for some reason has its favorite.
Ooh.
No one understands. But again, be that these are all ancestors returning, they may have had a better relationship with that ancestor subconsciously, or they're trying to find one that looks like them. We're also lost up in ourselves nowadays. It's very confusing, where you'll find often that a classic one where a parent will have two children,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and they will love the one that would look like the father will be more like the mother.
Right.
And the one that looks like the father will look like, behave more like the mother's characteristics.
So
It's really funny, but we get caught up in the picture. They say, okay, the parent will see a reflection of the son that looks like them, or the daughter that more looks like them, and have a leaning towards them.
Wow.
It's all very strange,
Wow.
This is something which one day I wish people could sit there and discuss and go through all the different permutations away from the simplicity of religion, and actually start to think from within themselves what is actually transpiring.
For sure. This is it's just it's deep stuff, and it's stuff that I think we know. When you hear it,
You know
it doesn't.
everything.
Yes, you know it. But then, like you say, as soon as you go back to your normal life, you go back into the trance, the hypnosis.
That's right.
You're none the wiser again. But for these moments when and I can understand why your seminars, it's dragging on beyond the time you allocated, because people, they're waking up for those sessions, and it feels nice to remember and know these things. So would you say that so would you say, in terms of what's going on on the course, are people having insights within the course?
Well, I love looking at everyone's faces, because where I'm standing, I'm in a position where I can see people, and I see when they drift off. I love it because we wrote course notes down, and at the very beginning I said, I'm going to give everyone course notes because you're going to drift off. You're going to hear one point, and then you're going to spend the next 5 minutes trying to come to terms or work out what that point means to you, because it's going to be something relevant to your life. And then for the other 5 minutes when I'm speaking, you're not going to hear anything. So I wrote that.
Say that again.
I said that they're going to trip out. They're going to trip out. I'm going to say something. They're going to trip out and basically relate that situation to their life.
Yes.
But for that 5 minutes, when they're actually pondering that thought, they're not hearing anything I'm saying.
Wow, they've gone.
So I write the whole note down of all the things we're going to say across a couple of hours, or I'm intending to say, and things that I don't actually get to say, so that later on they can go back and read through and be re-triggered again, because everything I said is in their imagination. They just didn't process it, so it's waiting to be processed.
That's right.
So again, it's waiting to be processed another time when you say, oh God, I remember hearing that. I can't remember where I heard it. And that's when they look at the notes, and hopefully that will retrieve that information stored in like a queue of all the things that they've heard waiting to be processed and put into their, because literally the way our mind works is we hear the sound and we try and process the picture. And once we have the picture, then we can explain the picture. If you can't see what I'm saying, you can't understand analyze
yeah.
things.
You need the image to help
you need the image
understand.
to talk about and do that. So once you understand that's the process of how the mind works, then you can start to take control at certain points. But the thing is, so you have all this information clogged in your mind, unprocessed, and waiting for the right trigger, like a jigsaw puzzle. So they exist as unfinished jigsaw puzzles. Yeah, certain words, certain concepts, and you want the right word to put in and say, oh, I've got it now. I can see the picture. So all of a sudden, oh, I was thinking about that, but I couldn't make sense. Now I can see what you're saying. And all of a sudden, the picture becomes alive, and then you can now discuss that picture. And we have so much information like that clogged in our head, waiting to be processed. That's why education takes out all the part of where you interact with the information. They don't want you to ask yourself. They want to tell you. So effectively, they're giving you the whole set of sequences so you don't actually think and interrogate your own mind. So you become like a robot. I've triggered you. Behave as I told you to trigger, as I've designed you to behave. Okay, so that's where, again, all of us are in conflict with our education. They've created morals. They've created a concept called where they say it's law. So therefore, all of a sudden now, oh, it's the law, which means I have to do it. As soon as you
don't think it through, yes.
You don't think about it. You don't even know. Someone says, I have a warrant to come in your house. What does that mean? I don't recognize you as a court. I don't recognize, none of this has got anything to do with me. But because of your child programming, when they say certain things, you automatically surrender yourself to what it is, the information that they're saying. But it doesn't exist in no natural dynamic. If someone's coming to your area and you want to protect it, you protect it. That's what you innately want to do. But they'll come with the law, police, and all these program words to shut you down. So effectively, we don't understand a lot of the things because we can't picture it. Because again, we don't have the building blocks through the simplification of religion. Hold on a sec. Classic. Let me ignore that. Yeah. So through the you can't buy it. Through the process of education or what have you, this is how they've managed to create the structure of what we call the matrix, because they literally layered all the different ways in which we look at our lives. So from the birth, as soon as you've given a name, go to school, get your education, pass your exams, go to the job, go into relationships, go into everything. Each stage has been carefully managed. So you're buried under all this stuff that isn't natural, but this is the law and this is how you believe it should be. And you're trying to work yourself out in an environment which is designed to basically keep you down.
For sure. So everything is about control and the treasures that we came with, they've confiscated it. And,
as a child, they make sure, as I say, that they didn't crucify Jesus, they crucified you.
Yes, for sure.
They crucified the original you so that you would never grow and be who you should be.
Kill them before they grow.
Become what they wanted you to be.
Wow. So, Brother Edison, what happened? What happened in week 2? Because week one sounds.
Well, week 1, no, I didn't go into half of week 1. We started telling you how you came to the world, how your parents are not your real parents. They're just
tell us
the
a little
ones
bit
that
about
created
that.
the body.
Hang on.
So
Tell us a bit about that. Come on.
That was 4 hours. Go ahead.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Go into that a little bit. Is that still week 1? Is that week 1 still?
Week 1, we didn't even get into anything. That was week 1. Week 1, we basically went into how...
Tell us about the parents. Yeah, tell us that bit.
Sorry?
Tell us that bit about the parents, not... Yeah.
Well, remember, we say you're born onto this place, but, you go through the 9-month incubation, obviously, inside your mother's womb. But your father and mother come together to make your physical body. They make your body, so they're the parents of your body. But they're not the parents of your consciousness.
No. They don't even most of the time, they don't even like your conscience.
They don't even like your conscience.
They want to change it, yeah?
they want to change it. They can see traits. So the fact is, you know that if it doesn't actually reflect both of them entirely, it didn't come from them.
Wow.
Yeah?
So
again,
wow. No, sorry, just ignore me. Just keep talking.
No, it's okay. No,
keep talking.
That's all right. So yeah, so once that's the case and you appreciate that, you can, not to say let go of your parents, because they are part of your story in this dimension.
A big part of your story, yeah.
So, but then you start to appreciate that you exist in different dimensions. Because you came from somewhere else, and therefore there's another part of your story that exists somewhere else. And what we explain is, be that you're an ancestor return, you're traveling. When we say you're returning back into this dimension. So therefore you will then grow up, have children, and create a vehicle for other ancestors to return into this dimension. So we say you rent your body from your family.
Yes.
Because effectively you all have similar shapes, but you have totally different mindsets.
Wow.
And your job is to keep creating different bodies so that your other ancestors can keep traveling back to this dimension.
Wow.
So this is where it is. And then you travel with a group of ancestors, you travel with a group of grandmother, grandfather that are different roles, and you all interchange roles as you come to each life. So your grandfather may have been once your son in a previous life, incarnation.
You know what I want to ask you, Brother Dougie, and this is about Brother Edison. You know what I want to ask you? Some people have said that, you can come back as a different race. You can come back as a different sex.
That's right.
Right. So a man can come back as a woman, and a woman can come back as a man. Will they bring any of those female or male tendencies with them to this new, in this new carnation?
Well, again, remember, the choice of what sex you are is basically determined quite a few weeks actually into the pregnancy.
Right.
Because the children are initially genderless.
That's right.
And then the chemical is secreted, which drops what's the fallopian tubes to become the genital area of the man, what have you, drops down and formulates the testicles and what have you. And it really is just the inverse of the woman. Yeah? Because the woman's, let's put it this, the woman's inverse is the fallopian tubes and the womb, isn't it?
Yes.
And that collapses down to become the opposite of the man. And when a man, they just drop down and creates a sac and creates the penis, per se. But remember, this is what freak people out. The man's womb is that genital area where he creates the cream, the semen.
Yes.
So he creates these eggs like the woman creates her eggs.
That is going to freak people out.
Isn't it just? So again, but then understand, the same womb area just dropped down into the man's lower regions and then became his womb. And he creates life from that point.
Wow.
And then again, people don't appreciate, how can a father, a woman produce a child that looks the spitting image of the man's mother or the man's sister? Unless he's not carrying his sister and his mother's genes inside him as well.
For sure, yes.
So he must be carrying all these female frequencies within him as well.
Wow.
So therefore he is, you see, the thing is, people got caught up in, everything has been reduced, unfortunately, to sex.
Yes,
yeah? Which again is a lower vibration, but using that term sex, it still connects us to the actual act. Well, not with the actual higher frequency of what that gender actually means. Hence, we have all the gender wars. I'm a woman, I'm a man, because effectively our intelligence has just been reduced to having sex and having children. And that's the only aspects we look at man or woman nowadays. And it's the arguments we have within relationships is what we use to define the genders more often. It's not what their higher intelligence and their higher purposes are. Women don't know how they feel having a baby, but they don't know how it's done and they can't control it. The same way men feel like having sex, but they can't control the production of semen and all that. They don't know how it's done. They just do it. And, the whole thing between a man and a woman, when they're having sex, it's the key for the lock, isn't it?
For sure.
Remember, there's just one, again, when the guys have the reverse operation, what do? They take it back and put it back inside.
Yes.
So it's the same thing, just extend it out.
Wow. That is going to seriously freak people out.
Don't worry about it.
Seriously.
The thing is, there's so much that is obvious once you think about it, but you don't, because you're caught up in the emotion of it. So you can't actually see it, but it's just the reverse of each one. What hanging out, the man is inverse inside the woman. That's all.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're both the same creature, just designed differently for the purpose that they have for that life. So the soul chooses what gender it wants to be
in this
on the way here.
Yes. Based on what it wants to achieve.
What it wants to do.
Wow. People...
And as far as the races are concerned, you have to understand, this is definition by other people.
Explain. Say that again.
If anyone was looking, literally different environments create different kind of...
Oh, yes, yeah, for sure.
You know how it is, you adapt to your environment. So based on your environment, your skin will alter its color over generations, your hair will change, your body. You know how it is, you'll be amongst someone who's 6 foot tall and someone who's 5'2". They originated from different places.
Wow.
So where someone... or the Chinese per se are at a certain height, because where they are, that's where their environment requires that. Where someone else is at 6 foot something, because where they originated from, that's where their environment required it. And the woman, in her mind, designs the body according to the environment that she finds that she's going to be in. So she will produce 2 children if she needed to. She will add that in the chemistry when they're actually building the body for that child.
Edison, do children, because I have heard it said, and it makes sense to me to some degree, do children choose their parents? Because what I'm thinking is, these urges that people get, right? And I don't want to get graphic and, whatever, but, when people get the urge, is it, I've heard that it's a soul that is hovering and wanting to be, wanting to come through them, to be on this planet, and so the urge that they're getting is more than just
it's more than just the urge. Yes and no. The urge isn't you. That's another concept.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't believe the urge is. I don't believe the urge comes from the individual.
No, it doesn't.
Who is using people to get these urges?
Well, the thing is, this is why I said simplicity of religion doesn't incorporate the wider aspects of different energies that exist within a person and within a human being, within the environment. Yeah. No one actually appreciates the fact that all of their organs have their own separate intelligences.
Yes, for sure.
Your heart beats, you don't know how it beats. Your stomach digests, you don't know how it does it. You don't know how any of the organs work in your body.
They walk around with all this intelligence, don't know anything,
Nothing, but they work in perfect symmetry and they work in pitch black.
Wow.
There's no light inside your body.
Wow.
But these energies are not working with us say we need to see what we're doing, like you, the person outside.
Exactly.
Once you're in the dark, you can't do anything, but all these organs do everything in the dark. So all of them have their separate intelligences, have their separate destinies, have their separate intentions, what they're here to do.
That's right.
The heart may decide, I'm not going to be here forever, I'm ready to check out.
Wow.
And the organs may do that. All of these organs work together and speak together. So the sexual organ, like anything else, is an organ that works on its own intelligence.
For sure.
And again, the problem that you have is most men look at life through their sexual organ.
Wow. Say that again, please.
Most men look at life through their sexual organ.
Oh my God.
Most women look at life through their womb.
Oh my God. Say that one again.
Most women look at through life through their womb.
Wow. Can you explain both those?
Okay, so the man again, it's the old joke. I won't get into the old joke. That's terrible. But yeah, all right. No. Right. It's not PC. Anyhow, but still, the fact for the man is, the problem is again, you know, I always say they have these conversations with me every day, but one day made me laugh today. And it sounds crazy, but they asked me a question. They said, are people really, when they're pursuing relationships, looking for sex and hoping for love?
Wow. Say that. You've got to say that again.
Yeah? Are people, when they're looking for relationships, looking for sex but hoping for love? And if people really defined what they were really trying to do, they will admit they're looking for sex. And they're hoping that they fall in love with this person. And sometimes they build this whole love relationship around the need for sex with that person.
Because people do talk like that, don't they? They say, "Oh, let's just see what happens." How can you do that? How can you?
Well, the thing is, people don't know how to look for love. Where would you start to look for love? The fact is, you want to fall in love with yourself. And the problem is, you're looking for someone else to basically give you enough attention to make you feel worthy of loving yourself.
Yes, that is so true. And that's what people call love, yeah.
You want to see the love in someone else's face for you before you believe that you can love yourself.
Wow.
Yeah? So effectively, in both ways, men and women are looking for that love. The thing is, these are organs that can be infiltrated by anyone, like other intelligences that exist within people and that attach to people. So you can have a situation where a woman will say, "Oh yes, I'm highly, motivated by men," or what have you. I mean, in a nice way. And the guy says, "Oh, I know, I can't live without it." Having to do that every day. And the thing is, they're in situations where they need that sensation.
Wow.
Yeah, they need to experience a sensation. They don't care the individual who they're doing it with.
Wow.
I know women do. Of course they do. But again, and men, as they say, they do. Well, we do. But again, when you crave the sensation, you crave the sensation. So essentially, we have built a whole life around a desire for that sensation.
Wow.
And that's why I say that you're pursuing sex or you're pursuing love. And then you try and create this manufactured love where you create these rules and say, well, if you love me, you do this. If you love me, you do that. And these rules, like laws, are not real. They're man-made.
That's right.
Yeah, with your child, you don't have no rules. You look at that child as soon as it comes out and you fall in love like you've never fell in love before.
For sure.
But a relationship, once there's sex or what have you involved, it becomes a conditional event.
Do you think sex is causing the problem? Do you think that is what is causing the big problem between man and woman?
No, man and woman has lost their way within themselves, and they don't know their purpose anymore. That's really what it is. So as a result of a woman now wanting to have children as a natural course of things, now it's almost it's part of what she dreams of when she's a young girl. If she, some people know they don't want to have children. That's fair enough. But then most people say they want to have children with the right kind of person.
For sure.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not going to pick the person based on necessarily the best aspects of the person. If he's good looking or strong or they're sexually attracted to him, they might pick the guy based on that. Yes. And their sexual attraction or what have you of the guy may not pertain anything to the person's character at all. There's the old saying that we become so focused on one thing, we become blind to everything.
Wow. So
all the other aspects of the person's characteristics that we weren't looking at, or we should have been looking at, we were just focused on what we were looking at, how they looked and how they physically got us excited, per se. And that sensation, we were there focused on the sensation other than the actual person themselves. And then we end up with a person once the need for that sensation sort of wanes a bit, And then by that time we could have bought a house, got into a whole external story with this person based off the sex dynamic, and then the sex dynamic isn't there. Then now you're stuck with someone who you said, my God, why would I have got into business with you? You're not the person I should have got into business with. And then all the different characters, all the things that you, forgot to ask now become the questions that are presented in the situation.
So people building everything on a very flimsy...
a very flimsy equation.
Wow.
That literally does not add up.
Wow.
Because again, a lot of guys, they say, oh, I've slept with her, now I'm in love with her. You're in love with sleeping with her.
Oh,
you don't even know who she is.
Wow. So, I mean, okay, people listening are obviously going to be, scratching their heads and thinking, what is this? What does this mean? What am I supposed to do? So, where should people start? What should people start doing?
People should start to really start to do the work on themselves and not leave it for someone else to do.
That is true.
Like you said about the therapist, the new guy isn't the guy who's going to hear your old stories and fix it. Get a therapist to do that.
Yes.
Yeah? Don't get a guy who now is excited by your presence to actually now be the one who's capable of doing that. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the whole concept of sharing it all with a person that you perceive that you love. But 9 out of 10, how well do you actually know the person? You feel something for them, but feeling is the sensation, not the knowing. Feeling is the end of the equation, not the beginning of the equation.
Say that again and explain what you mean.
Well, effectively, remember we said you have the words, and with the words you create the picture, and then with the picture you create the judgment through conversation, and then once you've created the judgment, you create the feeling. Feeling is the last aspect of the equation. It's based on it. So if you see a person that triggers, the feeling straight away. So if you go from visual to feeling, you missed out the whole picture to feeling. You missed the conversation with the judgment in between. And you didn't have a long enough conversation with that part of yourself. And at that time, there's always little things that niggle in where you see, you see incongruency. You say, that doesn't make sense. But you ignore it because you said, I'm enjoying this too much. I'm just going to ride it out for a bit longer,
You know what I want to ask? I spoke to a lady yesterday through my work, and she was looking at a potential arranged marriage. And what I want to ask you, our people, we always used to do that. We always used to have the elders, where people, people didn't just turn up with somebody.
Very good. It was good.
Yeah. What's obviously now people are just going with a silly feeling that doesn't mean anything and definitely won't mean anything in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Exactly.
Can you explain to people what is the benefit of, bringing in your internal ancestors and your live elders to help you to make a good choice in your long-term partner?
Well, like all things, the more information, the better the choice. Yeah? So if it's a case where you have people with experience moving along to this family and they're older, so they've seen more cycles of life. They've seen different aspects of people. A young person, not to say that they're not wise, but they haven't lived through the cycle of seeing a child growing to an adult.
For sure.
So they're still a child. So therefore, they're not going to recognize certain patterns or behavior that an older person might recognize. So they could go to a family and see certain traits in the family and understand that's in that family's bloodline.
Yes.
That certain behavior, that certain trait. So if they're thinking about their grandchildren, their children could inherit that kind of behavior.
Exactly.
Their grandchildren can inherit those kind of traits. So So those situations, they would go along and see if the risk was acceptable. And if better blood was being brought into their family or worse blood. Because remember, when you get with a person, you're not just getting with that physical body. That body is the body of the family. You're getting with all the traits of that family. So if they've got a crazy uncle or mad aunt, happy, you're getting in bed with all of them different things. Because all those traits are going to be possibilities when you have any children with that person.
But that, I mean, in every family there's a few bad apples here and there. But I mean, the thing is, with people now, people want to feel, because I have people calling up and they said, "Oh, I'm having a connection with this person," and there's this other, and they want to get off, they want to go off and have babies and get married, and I'm like
I said, looking for sex, hoping for love.
Yeah.
Looking for sex, hoping for love.
What happened? Where did people stop going to the wisdom to choose their families? And
like I said, this is something which is taken from the child at education level, where they no longer ask you to trust yourself. They don't want you to trust yourself. They want you to trust the system. Mm-hmm. They want as the old saying, the church to be your father and the government to be your mother.
Wow.
Where the church is the one that gives you the morality and tells you what to do, and then the government is the one who feeds you, gives you the money and all that gives you the bit. So you're supposed to listen to those two factions, not to actually listen to your own
what
parents.
A horrible thought, yes. You can see how it's all gone horribly wrong. Yeah. Wow. And then you see as well all these films and things music that is just turning people on all day long. It's like people are just a walking sexual, I mean, no, seriously, it's almost like...
No, I know, but this is the whole point. Again, you have to understand, music is the language of your body.
Yes.
Your body speaks in music. The fact is, we say that your words, the tone of your voice is the melody behind your words.
Say that. That's beautiful. The tone
of your voice is the melody behind your words.
Wow.
So music is the actual language of emotion. With music, I can make your body move in whatever direction I want to move in. I can play a certain tone in a certain way, and I can get a certain physical reaction with it. Because music basically speaks to the feeling, and it generates feelings within you. The same way when you hear the tone of a person's voice, you actually feel what they're feeling.
For sure.
You process what they're feeling.
Yes.
You hear the words, you go, hold on, but look at the tone. That person's really angry. That person's really happy. That person's really sad. Yeah, you hear those different things in the tone of voice behind the words.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so everything is really just music.
So the music that's being played now,
effectively, it's been designed. They know how to actually process any emotion that they choose. Hence the soundtracks behind film.
Yes, yeah.
A film without a soundtrack, you don't know how to behave.
Exactly, you just
you can watch a comedy and no one's clapping.
Yeah.
You don't even know when to laugh.
That's true. It's kind of, it's almost quite strange, isn't it, watching comedy without the clapping and the laughing, yeah.
Exactly. So you're not appreciative of how the underlying music is creating the tone in everything that you're actually witnessing and watching on TV. You just don't know when something is played. Even the most innocuous program that you're just focused on the words, you've got a soundtrack in the background.
Changes everything.
Movies and soundtracks wouldn't, they sell the soundtrack. You didn't even know that song was there being played out in an obvious tune with two people just having a conversation. There's still a soundtrack being played in the background, trying to guide your emotions towards that scene in a certain way.
Wow.
So therefore, again, with the music nowadays, they've got it to a fine art. They've been doing it in soundtracks for whatever years. Now they can put a certain time, and now look, you'll hear a song, but the first thing you're going to say is, where's the video? Because you need to see the video in order to put the song in context. You no longer, you know,
You
when you
don't
were
use your
younger.
own imagination anymore. Yes.
No, remember when we were kids, we all had books. And we used the
Yes.
books, and we used to read the books.
Yes.
And with our books, we imagined what the character looks
That's
like.
right.
We created the scenery, and we created all those kind of things.
And it was different for everybody. Because
Each one was different.
Yes.
So you were working with your own imagination
Yes.
and basically opening your own mind to connect to sort of different higher sort of intelligences within yourself that could design better and do better. And then you could go out and create your own images and art and all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Now, people are lazy. They don't want to create the images in their head.
No.
Hence they'll say, oh, let me have a movie, and that will give me the images, that will give me the story and give me everything.
Wow.
So now they're making all these gods of Egypt, all these different movies, where effectively now they're even telling you, they're giving you a version of a story and giving you the images in your head. So someone who hasn't got the time to read and look at these things believes what they've seen in the movie is real.
Wow. Wow. So, you know, so people need to, it's all about trusting what is going on inside you, trusting your own
inner conversation. You've got to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Got to trust. And this is the whole point.
Not hand yourself over to somebody else to dictate and determine what you think, what you feel, what music you listen to. And what do you think the music now that our young people are listening to, what do you think, you know, it's doing to them? Because...
Well, it's very dark. It's very aggressive. And like we said, the words create the images and the judgments, therefore. So if you're pounded with a certain image and tone all the time, you become what the words express. So if the words express violence, express protect this, protect that, and remember the words are speaking about empty concepts. Yeah? Because they're asking you to protect a situation you don't control.
Wow.
Yeah, the guys talk about the streets. They don't control the streets. The police and army control the streets.
Wow.
They control ideas. And these are ideas self-generated and what have you. You can walk in an area and not know gangs exist because you don't actually think on that level and that idea. But all the youngsters there say, oh, we own this area, we own this. You don't know because you're not operating on that actual visual spectrum or mental spectrum. So they're literally creating all these artificial spectrums where people are looking at their lives which have no meaning and have no forward progression. That's why people grow up and leave the gang and leave the groups because ultimately they satisfy them with, unevolved minds. They're coming together. You know, there's the old saying that we fight individually at the end of the day, but we huddle together in fear in groups. As soon as someone says they need to join a group, they lose their individuality.
That's
and
right.
the battle and the group can't fix them inside.
No.
Can't fix them as individuals. It just looks for a group strength. But you still got to do your battle by yourself as an individual to fix yourself.
Wow. You know, I'm so much information has come out, and are we still on week 1?
Yeah. We ain't got to. It did take us 5 hours. We haven't got to physiogamy.
Okay, let's go to week 2. Let's go to week 2
because physiogamy.
I think we've done an hour and a half with week 1.
I told you.
Okay. Let's go to week 2. What's going on with week 2?
Physiogamy was about the body, and my presenter, the one who's doing the course with me, Gillian Bolton, did a fantastic explanation about how the body, the lines of the body, the shape of the body, the facial features of the body indicate various illnesses going on inside the person.
Yes.
Where there's puffy behind the eyes, show kidney problems, different other things. She was very good at it. It's not something I've studied, in all honesty, because again, I don't focus too much on the physical body. But again, she did, and she broke it down fantastically. Based on I think the Lilo Africa model, she went into quite a lot of detail about how our bodies are really just mirrored in our face. The old saying, it's written all over your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to say a word. A man can look at your face, look at your feet, look at your hands, and you're in.
That's true.
And that's the way that we used to do it back in Africa. It wasn't all of this. We needed all this operation or MRI and all this kind of thing. We could look and see.
Yes, it's
because your body is telling you.
Yes.
Reflexology, all these things born out of hidden older understandings, which is what we used before.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, body is an information ship tool that is telling us what's going on inside.
That week I went into something else. We went into the whole how we have all these different sort of thoughts within us, and how these thoughts leak. You know, how your face sometimes shows expressions you didn't realize you was trying to you had a thought in your mind and your face leaks it out, you know?
Yeah, man, yeah.
Shows you this, shows you this, and how we kind of use that to break into how different energies exist as thought forms in our mind. And they're arguing with us all the time to, you know, sort of put things down, put people down, put ourselves down. You know?
Please, tell us about these.
Encouraging us to do bad things. And these things leak in us sometimes. We explain the whole concept of anger being a possession. You know, and certain intelligences exist behind anger. Often when you become angry, you find that you fall into anger. And all of a sudden you can't climb out of it easily. You're like, oh my God, I'm angry. This is why they said I see red, which means you can't see. It's like it's blocked out all your sort of compassion or humanity. All you now want to do is hurt that other person. So you'll say whatever you have to do to hurt that other person, and you're almost like you're in a battle to not say exactly what you want to say, and hold it back because you're thinking, hold on, this is my partner, this is my friend. I'm trying to hurt this person. What the hell's going on with me? So, and some people haven't got much clothes, just let it all out. And then afterwards they're sitting there saying, oh God, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me.
Yes, yeah. So, and you're saying that it literally is an entity that's taken them over.
An entity that's possession, because it knows actually the words to say. It knows what's going to hurt the person. And it deliberately goes out to try and hurt the person.
Wow.
And as soon as the entities calm down and no longer in control, the actual real person now comes out. And the new person is the one that has to apologize.
Wow.
Or not apologize and sit there in pride. And then it creates a disparity between the two people. Because it continues to do that. Because the entity wants to build on that disagreement. Mm-hmm. And you might like the person, really love it, but you find yourself losing it. And once you're losing it, you're lost in that anger. You can't actually remember who that person is, what they are to you, what they mean to you. All you can think of is you want to hurt them. And until that feeling fades, before you can get back to who you naturally are again.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I because people can look completely different when they get angry.
Actually, their face features, everything goes, their body language,
the body,
totally different.
Even the way they move is different.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because they're possessed at that moment, but all of them are like that.
Wow.
All the different feelings can come and possess you, even joy, excitement, different forms of possession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even the nice ones, even like joy.
Yeah, again, sometimes it's like that. This is why you have to learn to manage these energies and work with them independently. You know, even joy. Essentially, you imagine when you become joyful, you could become tearful, but it's a nice sensation. As opposed to the angry one, which is not a nice sensation. Your fist clench, your eyes water, your voice becomes hoarse, your stomach is in pain, because effectively, the chemical disposition in your body is an ugly one. So therefore, the organs are basically struggling to function with that sort of acidic energy that's put into your blood system.
God. So what happens to somebody? You know, some people are always angry. Every single day they have anger.
They're angry.
What is going on there?
Well, it's because there's some point or some moment in their life they haven't come to terms with. Some injustice that they can't just get beyond. So when you ask them if they're angry, they're always angry. They just need a little bit to tip them
it doesn't take much,
reaction.
Just,
because it's just reaction, isn't it? They're always angry. It's just a little bit to tip them into reaction. Otherwise, they're always at a state. And then those people, you just need to ask them, what is it? If they can tell you and basically calm themselves down, this is where, like you say, new relationships people with old angers, that they need to find someone who they trust, who they can actually share the story of what's really plaguing them, and what point they can't get over. They just can't get over that point in their mind. They just can't. So therefore, any little thing triggers them into reaction. And they could, it might not even, it's not even connected to the original thing, because they can't even speak about the original thing anymore. So yeah, when them people are like that, and I see the person's always angry, you know, I try and ask, are you okay? They say, oh no, and they're rowing like a bear. You haven't even said anything, and they're, you know, up for an argument because they haven't had a chance to actually express what it is that's really upsetting them.
And does any of this go back to the you know, the ancestors and you know, vengeance and things like that?
In honesty, yeah, it really does. This is why I said, you know, the sooner we get into these subjects, we can see the complexity of them, and how far they go back, and how they are involved in every aspect of our life. Mm-hmm. You know, people think money is going to make everything better, and money just makes money matters better.
Yeah.
All the other problems you have, you still have, don't you? Yeah, as they say, money can't buy your love, just attention. But that's all it is. It's not going to add an attention from people that just want your money. So it's still not love, is it?
Of course, absolutely not.
So that love that they need for themselves, and those imbalances within themselves, still exist. And it does go back to, like I said, I don't want to repeat it, but there's things and aspects of life which are beyond the common understanding. Mm-hmm. And there's things happening within us which, again, are old energies and old stories and old situations which we haven't dealt with from previous lives. You know, you'll find that some great injustice has happened to, say, a woman. It could be in the form of abuse or what have you, physical or sexual, what have you, from a child, and they didn't get proper acknowledgement for that situation.
Yes.
Everyone wanted to sweep that under the carpet. No one wanted to believe the child. And that child then grows up with an anger towards people and towards a certain type of people, which is the battle that becomes the rest of their life. Trying to balance themselves in conjunction with that anger that isn't there, that anger that's there. That's why you're classic when you see someone that's upset all the time. If it's a guy, again, he could be born of a woman that had that event, so he doesn't even know why he's angry.
Wow.
And then he has certain things, and then he could be one who's gone and done that kind of thing to people. Therefore, he's now walking around angry all the time because he knows deep down what kind of person he can be. And he doesn't know how to stop it or not become it. So he fully engrosses himself with the energy that is propelling him to do that. It's like I said, it's a crazy and a subject in depth where there's so many aspects that are different to each individual, you know?
So people, would you advocate, say, therapy for people with these tendencies and these issues?
Yes. However, the common form of therapy, not from a sort of, I don't know, I won't use the word African because, again, that one is we were caught with someone named as African. They're not, you know, that we had other names for ourselves. But again, something from an older, more understanding of the nature and spiritual nature of people would be advisable. Because if I come to you and the modern day therapy is going to say, okay, let's give you some drugs, let's do things like that, that's not going to change anything. Well, that's just going to shut down your understanding of yourself and put into your body poisons that are unnatural, so your body can't dispose of them. So they will create an illness in itself down the road.
Of course. Absolutely.
So that kind of therapy doesn't. If it's a case where people can talk to other people, everyone's looking for that person where you can share the real issues that you have and not feel judged. Because it's the judgment of them. You don't want someone to say, oh, you're this, or you're terrible, or you're this, or you're that. You don't want that when you're telling your story. And in therapy, yeah, they can tell that. And the guy, the therapist, is listening, saying, yes, 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 yes. But they can't go beyond what it is. And therapists are not advised of the different energy aspects of that, because there's no one going to teach you that. You know, that's something that you hear the more that you understand yourself. as they say, all of who you are, is inside you. You're looking out at the world.
That's right.
So how can someone from outside of you come to start telling you what's inside you?
It's not really possible, is it?
It's not possible. If they're thinking from outside, if they're looking at your body, there's a saying that spirit talk to spirit and bodies talk to bodies.
Yeah.
So a body is going to look at someone and only look at the person from their body and not look at their internal spirit. Where you are actually a spirit. Having a, as they say, being, having a human experience. When people hear that and really still are attached to the attributes of their body. So therefore they can't really dig inside themselves to find what's going on. The fact is, if you want to find something, don't look up, look within. Because it's within where the thing is taking place.
Yeah, for sure.
And the more you understand your internal world and how that works, how you come to your conclusion, who are your advisors, who is advising them, then the story goes back within you infinitum. You go so far back in yourself, past lives start to make sense. Current lives make sense because you understand where you and that person had a relationship before and why that person's behaving as they are now. It's a minefield, but you have to, the first and foremost, trust yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, you're going to fall off concentrated about what it is you're looking for. And someone can come to you and say, oh, there's this aspect. You go, oh, really? And then now you're not looking at your life, you're looking at their world.
For sure.
And their thing. And the whole thing about this course, sneaking it back in, is really to get you to know thyself. That is the term. I'm not sneaking it back in. But yeah, the whole concept is know thyself, because what we're really trying to get you to is the position where you recognize the patterns in your life.
Your patterns. This is very, very
and really recognize. And these patterns are repeated because you haven't resolved them. And this can be from the smallest thing to the largest thing. It can be to the jobs that you end up, to the relationships that you're in, to the way that people treat you. These are patterns. The way in which the soul works is it uses the body to create, we won't say illnesses, but certain situations where, what do they call it? Dis-ease. Dis-ease, not at ease. So they'll make you uneasy so that you can find a way to basically repair that situation.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking, as we're talking about anger and, sort of horrible things, people going through awful situations and creating anger in their body. What effect would something like slavery do to a people?
Well, in honesty, this is the most, how do we put it, wicked cover-up that ever existed, They keep saying to you, get over it, but they're not actually saying what it is that you're supposed to
get over. Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so no one's speaking of you see, again, this was sex in slavery was the first form of genetic engineering. Remember, the reason why you have in America those 7-foot tall basketball players, because they were genetically engineered.
Wow.
Yeah, they put the strongest women, black women with the strongest black men, and they produced the strongest the children, which worked harder in the farms or worked harder in the field.
That's right.
So therefore, over generations, they created a race of people that are that tall. But, the proportion of tall guys in America is incredible to anywhere else. The boxers, the world champions, always used to come from America. Again, from where they actually did that. But then on a psychological level, again, you had to take the children away from the adults. You had to take their culture away from the children. You had the first generation of slaves that obviously they didn't speak English.
No.
They spoke in their African tones and dialects.
That's right.
Yeah, and with their tones and dialects, they had different mindsets, different capabilities, different concepts. They had to remove any of those concepts and those capabilities away from the child. So therefore, this is where the African spirituality died, because they had to kill it and introduce the Christian ethos, where essentially you had an image. Like I said, you got the name, you got the image, you got the story, and then you got the emotion. And they introduced that program into the children and kept that there for generations. That's why you'll see everywhere in American church, you'll go to the Caribbean, it's a parish. It's all based on the Bible again.
Yes.
Parish, parish, parish. The actual towns are not named towns. They're called church parishes to show you the influence of the church in those environments. So effectively, they had to make sure they rid all of the African presence out of the children over generations. So the child now is proud to be confused because they're not white, but they're not exactly black or African or African thinking. They're trying to be, you know how it is, you can give us anything and we'll make something else out of it because our name, we have a creative nature and we're more closer to the earth. Yeah? So therefore we then change Christianity into something bigger, you know, than what it was.
For sure.
And then claimed it as our own, where it's claiming rubbish for yourself, you know, because essentially that has no relation to you. The fact is, thou, thee, this, that's got no connection to your spiritual or blood frequency. That's why we can't feel anything in it. And we have to jump up and shout and rave so that we can actually feel something. And we're calling other energies into us. You'll go to a European church and they'll just be able to, you know, you see that they're not jumping, they're not playing the music, they're not doing it because they don't need to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's their frequency. But we need to do all those things to feel the thing that we're actually doing. And we still can't feel it. You know? You don't even want to... But yes, into how these churches literally charge the physical bodies of these people. Because like I said in the very beginning, when you speak, you actually hear your own words. Okay? So remember, you and the word or the voice are not the same thing.
Wow.
Your voice is not you. Your voice is what you create.
Wow.
Yeah? So therefore, the emotion behind the voice as well, you also feel that inside your body. So when you're screaming at someone, it hurts your head as well.
Yes.
So effectively, you're not appreciating that when you're actually creating that word, you're actually charging the word with the emotion. So therefore, when you're actually then in church being asked to repeat all those words, you're charging your body with that concept.
Wow.
So that when someone comes and says something counter to that actual words, your body physically feels it because now it's working with the resonance of those words.
Wow.
And the resonance of those words are based on a lie. So therefore, your body is lying to itself with that religious concept. And it can't access itself because that word, that religion is externally based. You're to focus outside of yourself, not inside of yourself. If someone says, we always used to laugh, why is it when you actually fall down to pray, you close your eyes?
Yes.
It makes no sense. Why are you closing your eyes when the God is in the sky? Can you see better with your eyes closed?
No.
No? And the reason why you close your eyes, because you naturally know that the actual God is inside you. And you have to shut down your mind so you can travel inside yourself to look for that energy.
For sure.
Yeah? And all you're ever looking for is yourself. Because you are the one that is the membrane between this world and the other world.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world. So effectively, we're doing what we naturally know. When we pray, put our hands together. We put our hands together so we can complete our energy circuit.
Wow.
Because the energy traveling around us is there giving out energy to the world when our hands are apart. But when it's together, we then complete the circuit. So the energy now is moving within us. The energy coming out of our hands is going back into our other hand, and we've got our feet, so we're now completing the circuit. That's why you always put your hands together to pray or to bow, because you're then actually feeling much more stronger when your hands are together. together. That's why you fold your arms again, a defensive pose. So you're then feeding your energy back into yourself.
Yes. Wow.
So they know all of this, and they're basically programming, charging people. So therefore, when people are singing, people don't appreciate singing is a form of chanting.
Of course. Yeah.
Because when you sing, your energy rises higher, and your energy goes deeper into the other side of your mind, into the deeper dimensions of yourself. And the reason why music affects you, because remember, music is the language of your body, but it's also the language of your soul. So therefore, energy is now pulled down into your body, and you want to physically move.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
So yeah,
Woo.
it's very sadly there's just so much. So much.
And that's week 2.
Week 2. No, week 2 is that. Week 3 goes crazy.
Oh, was that week 3? Was that week 3?
What's that? That's week 2. No, well, that's when we didn't go into the church bit then, but effectively, yeah, we're kind of explaining these things across the course. But week 3, we kind of went into the communications directly with your ancestors.
Say that again. Communications
directly with your ancestors. Okay. It's no longer, we were just setting the ground so you can actually appreciate what your mind was, how it really works, and what it really does. And the fact that you are the one that effectively communicates and creates your reality. You communicate with energies outside of you, and you take that information to create the picture. Once you create the picture, then with the picture you have the conversation and create the judgments, and then you have the feeling. But you're the one who controls this. So we're trying to get to the point where you understand that this has been a communication you've had all your life, all the time. So when someone says, do I have the ability? I ask them, what have you been doing all your life? This is all you've ever been doing. So I'm not teaching you anything you don't know. Yeah. I'm just slowing down what you do know, so you can look at it from another perspective and build a more concrete picture that is more relating to you than to what someone else is saying is you.
Okay, so I think we sort of touched on that right at the beginning. So what happened in week 4?
Well, week 4 is numerology.
Ooh.
4 we went into numerology, so Gillian very skillfully went through the whole how you use your name.
Yes.
To be able to find the numbers and how these numbers are broken down to represent different life aspects of who you are and how you are.
Yeah, name and date of birth, I think, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And these are ancient concepts which effectively have been around, where people have broken down these numbers and, worked out certain behavior patterns and things to look out for when we actually see these numbers.
Yeah, that is a fabulous discipline, seriously. I love numerology. Love it, yeah. So we
went through that.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
Well, I spoke a bit about how we don't appreciate that the thing is there's only ever one thing, one number, it is you. Yes. And each number is an expansion of you.
Wow.
So therefore 2, there was only 1, and it created 2 so that it could see itself.
That's right.
And then it created 3, which was a combination of 1 and 2.
Yes.
And then it created 4 for stability, and then 5 an expansion again. And then you have that circle going on. And kind of went into the whole African tradition known as Ifa is based on a number system as well.
Wow.
And split on how they knew that each number had a separate personality, and whenever it becomes, whenever you see it, it conveys a different energy frequency to you. So as soon as you see it, because numbers are actually phenomenon. When you see 4 things, that is a visual phenomenon, and basically brings a signature of a certain event and certain pattern of reality into your visual circumference, into your visual mind. And how these are much more powerful than what we sort of, because we look at labels, we see number 4, and then we're thinking 4 plus 5, but we didn't appreciate that the energy of 4 is marrying with the energy of 5, and 9 has another frequency. So we started speaking about that and how that interrelates in our life. You know, where some people are going to have 3 marriages or 2 children or what have you. And these have significances that start off way before we're actually conceived or born.
Wow.
You know, this is how everything in life boils down to your number.
Definitely.
Well, no, it's either your age, your height, your weight, the date, the time, how much money you got in the bank. Everything is boiled down to numbers. Wow. Even letters boil down to numbers. So therefore, the actual real,
you know, it reminds me of I'm just thinking of the prisoner saying, you know,
exactly. I'm not a number. I'm a free man, and all that kind of thing. So effectively, we all boil down to numbers. And again, they use the actual spiritual discipline of when you see numbers in order to, you know, put you in a certain spell as well.
Box. Yeah.
Yeah, because if someone says to you 100 and you can visualize and picture 100, you'd rather have 100 in your account than £1 in your bank. So that's it. But in the same breath, you'd rather owe only £1 than owe 100. I mean, like, you know, each time in each direction, the actual energy means something different, and we need to get back into dealing with energies as opposed to labels, because education nowadays is label based, not explanation based.
Yes.
So we can't interact with our reality. All we do is just follow the triggers as they're given to us, and we don't think or do anything like that. We don't think. They want to bypass the thinking process and get to the reacting process.
They just want us to memorize.
A perfect way of doing it, because they have a very powerful spiritual significance. Crazy world.
Not it's all about taking you away from you, and what you're doing is giving back.
We want to take them back. We want to bring them back into it, you know.
So what happened in week 5?
Last week was like week 5, and we did the spiritual oils, and we did the bath, because we wanted to have people understand that your body is, or what do you say? Your skin is a container. Okay? It works 2 ways. It contains everything inside you, but it allows the outside to come into you as well.
Yes.
Yeah? So therefore, in your life, you have a situation where all your thoughts and feelings are basically contained within your body.
Yes.
And all the events that have ever happened to you are also contained within your body.
Wow. Yeah.
So being that we spoke about the charging, when you have a certain feeling, that feeling, what do they call it? Emotion, which is energy in motion.
Yes.
So therefore, that energy is now in motion around your body. So you have the feeling, and then it basically changes the frequency and consistency of your blood. So therefore, because you've introduced that energy into your blood, and it's infused with your blood, that thought is now infused with your blood, it then passes to your heart. And remember, your heart, as we said before, or we haven't said on this conversation, but your heart has the word ear in it.
Yes.
So the fact is, your heart hears everything that you're actually going through. So once it actually hears that, it disseminates that energy all around your body. So your body is now feeling that thought that you had. Yeah? Because it's pumped around the whole body by your heart. And the thing is, now that energy is radiating from your system, and it's there trapped in your skin.
God.
Yeah? Because you know how it is, you have different forms of sweat. Yes. So your sweat changes in smell whenever, depending on the type of sweat. If you're hard working, your sweat smells in a different way. If you're excited, your sweat smells in a different way. If you're in fear, your sweat smells in a different way. That's why dogs are able to pick up your scent, because they can break down what type of feeling you're having through the different type of scent that you generate.
Wow. That is, that makes a lot of sense,
But therefore, then we realize that in these baths that we basically speak of, effectively, we're putting you in a situation where we're cleaning off that hidden saturated energy that is now actually in your skin. And the actual bath with the components of it is to pull that out of you.
That's right.
So effectively, you can kind of feel clean because you're not carrying all that energy, tension, thoughts, feelings inside you.
What does a bath consist of?
Well, the bath has various, we say oils because we've created certain oils ourselves. But effectively, you can, because again, it speaks of oils in it, but there's ways in which you can, what do you say? Best way to explain it is everything in life. Remember I said the concept that you charge everything. So people walk around with sort of a negative attitude towards themselves.
Yes.
Or less than positive.
Yeah, certainly in this country.
Right?
Yeah.
So whenever they're thinking in that way or speaking of themselves in that way, they're charging the air in front of them with their words, with their thoughts, with their feelings.
Yeah.
And when they're charging the air in front of them with their thoughts and feelings, that is literally creating a magnet to attract those events to come to them and affect them.
Yes.
So therefore, someone who's always upset always says, "Oh, people always treat me like that. People will always treat you like that." The fact that you said that, you create that frequency. So as soon as people come to you, they feel that frequency and feel compelled to actually treat you in that way. So you're constantly charging your reality all the time. Now, when you speak, the whole thing about the baths, we're always sort of, the main thing I was telling them, you can put all the ingredients in the world, but the most important thing is how you charge it afterwards, and how you speak into that bath, and the frame of mind you're coming from. And if you're coming from a peaceful place, you put yourself in a peaceful place. You put yourself in the state of mind you want to achieve by having that bath. And you speak in that. So that frequency is now there in the bath, effectively trying to now resonate. You leave the bath as well after you've spoken that, leave it 20 minutes or so that the water can infuse with your intention and your thoughts. And then essentially all the ingredients, be it salt, be it lemon, be it garlic, be it whatever, they are to pull, they're absorbers of that energy that you have. So they're pulling that out of your system, pulling it out. So effectively you get out a little bit lighter, and the thoughts that you buried, because most people are suffering from thoughts that they buried in their minds. They buried so many incidents that have taken place. So they say, okay, I'll forget about that. You don't forget about anything.
That's dangerous.
That thought has basically a structure, it has a matter, it has a density, and it's now just saturated in your body with all the other ones piled up.
Yes.
Yeah, all the other ones. You imagine there's what do you say? You put food into your stomach, you put food into your mouth, and your body breaks it down and disseminates outside your system. But what your body can't get rid of remains as fat.
That's right.
All right, so imagine everything you hear, you process that as well.
You consume it all.
You consume it all. You consume your whole experience.
Yes.
So the thing is, your body can't process all of it. So what happens? It stores as a sort of energy fat around your system and your aura.
Right. Yes, your auric field. Yeah.
And that's what slows you down when you can't move or I can't do anything, and you're depressed because you're covered in all those thoughts.
Yeah. You're
depressed. So it creates another form of fat. Yeah. Exactly. You're down because you're weighted down with all these thoughts and feelings all around you.
Yes.
And you didn't dispose of them. You didn't process them.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that so clearly, and I teach that as well, and I feel that people really have to get that you are these faculties, hearing, seeing, what have you, they're all bringing everything that's happening out there. If you kind of get yourself into it, it's coming into you. Whatever you're into becomes
the fact that you can see it means that you've processed.
Yes.
We're at the late stage because we actually think that we're seeing at current time. No, whatever you see is happened in the past.
It's already, yes, it's...
because you processed those waves and light forms and sounds, and you've made it all sound as one stream. Because remember, you hear slow, you see faster than you hear.
Yes.
I can see a tree falling, but if I'm at a distance too far away, I can't hear it fall down. It takes a long while before that information comes to me, because that's a much denser form of light. So therefore, it's slower. But as far as your mind is concerned, you make it all appear simultaneously.
Yeah.
When it's not really happening simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah? You're looking at your own thoughts, quiet as kept.
Wow.
The same way that in order to survive, you're running that separate movie reel in your head. So you're there looking at the outside world, but then you shut off and then go look at the image that you're creating with the words that the person is saying. And you're comparing two of them together. And that's what your experience of life actually is. The comparing of the two worlds, your inner world images and the outer world images. And your judgment of both of them is how you actually perceive who you are and what's going on.
My goodness. Yeah, that's deep, deep stuff. And we are 1 hour and 45 minutes. Brother Edison, how are you? Are you still?
I'm very well. Like I said,
yeah?
This is what we do every Sunday for 4 or 5 hours, and you can see we haven't got into anything yet.
God.
We haven't got into anything yet. No, this is a scratch.
What would be number 6? What's going to be this week?
This week we have Heal Thyself Nutrition, which Gillian is going to take on. So she's going to be breaking down various foods, how you can heal your frequency and your energy balance, and everything is really about the flow of energy in your body. And once that is sort of broken or, blocked in any way, this is when you start to get illnesses.
Absolutely.
Feet problems, block of circulation. Hand problems, block of circulation. All the different eye problems, even cataracts, that's a block of circulation in certain vessels in your body. So, again, all of this is what's transpiring. And, we say we dig our graves with our teeth.
Yes.
Yeah? So we eat our way to illness.
Wow.
So effectively, she's going to break that. I'm not sure what I'm going to say yet, because I still have to speak to my people tomorrow morning. I've got a feeling what it could be about. But yeah, we're going to get into a different set of things. So I think we're going to go into the aspect of water and explain how water, the intelligence behind water, is the management system of our soul, the external soul. Because water literally is what we breathe. And then our whole body is based on, we say water 8%. People just say it flippantly. But in honesty, everything is infused in that water. Our thoughts, our feelings, certain chemicals, all these different things are done under the management of the intelligence behind water. Because it's allowing all those things to attach, and it's allowing all those things to move through it. So there's a whole different subject, but I'll break it down slowly in the class tomorrow, and then we'll go through that. But yeah, so we're really trying to push people inside themselves. We say that we don't have a blackboard because the blackboard is yourself, is your mind. And I really want to push inside your mind to force you to think of certain things inside you, because as soon as you start that, you shut out the other world.
Wow.
And your whole spirit starts to move and take control over you, because now that's the thing that's processing the word. That's the point that is coming up with its own conclusion. And as soon as you start coming up with your own independent conclusions, your soul is starting to cook, starting to move forward, it's starting to get its power going. And various different other thoughts, different other sort of mind frequencies will switch on. We don't have the 5 senses. We have more than that, so much more than that. And those things start to switch on and start to pull information from the other side into this world, so that you start to appreciate who and what you really are. Because as we said, know thyself. Once you appreciate that, you're no longer a slave to anyone else.
So it's about letting go. It's really about stop being, because this world is all about attachment, isn't it? Everything is about attachment, and you're teaching how to detach and to remember who you are and be back in your true self.
Effectively, this world is, what do we say? In order to tell a lie requires a spoon of fear to make the medicine go down, So everything is based in fear. Yeah, and as they have you in fear, fear paralyzes the flow of your mind.
Right.
So when you want to think, fear basically blocks it. It creates an image like a wall, so you can't get to the next step of yourself because you want to stop at the fear and address the fear.
Yes, you don't want to.
So this is why everything they teach you, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do that, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do that, this is what's going to happen. So basically, you're constantly trying to run away from all these different fears that are constantly being angled towards you.
Yes, I hear that. I totally hear that. You know what I'd like to do? I mean, gosh, have you? Because obviously, are you doing? You've got. Is it a 10-week course? What about you to do?
It's 10-week, boy. If you want to see them next week, the following week, 7, we're going to go into how you start to clear your space, your house, your home, your car, yourself.
Oh my God! Yes. Can you touch on that a little bit? I know you probably haven't written the
No. It's all right. Again, no, that one is old stuff where effectively, there's energies lurking in every corner of your home. Where whenever you have a thought or a feeling, it's not restricted by your skin. And where there's rooms where there's been a lot of arguments, the frequency of that argument still remains in that room. God. So when people go into that room, they're more likely to argue, or they're more likely to be down, or they're more likely to be upset because someone was in that room that was feeling in that state and literally ionized the air, so the air in that room stays with that frequency and that thought.
You know what I want to ask you? In this country, what they said in this country there's been more deaths here than anywhere else in the world because of all the wars, yeah? So do you feel, and somebody was telling me about, about a soldier, somebody who'd, I can't remember the exact story, but basically what I'm getting at is all these, war zone, all this war that's been going on in this country, and obviously these old Victorian houses and what have you, and, all these sort of, big corporate old buildings. Would you say that there's all remnants of those old energies?
Of course.
Say somebody now moving into those places
will be plagued,
yes,
and their minds will be in torture with all these other energies trying to enter those people. Yeah, because again, when your frequency is down, certain thoughts can start to move into your energy matrix and try to start becoming a voice, which is going to encourage you to do certain things. They'll encourage you to eat certain foods, drink certain things that you wouldn't normally do.
Oh, that is deep. Seriously.
It's different from a pregnant woman, because the reason why she has cravings is because it's the soul of the child that has cravings.
Yes, it must. Yes, that
so
makes
that's
sense.
Different. But then you have situations, you're walking along, I want this cake. Why do I want this cake? I don't even like this cake. And you'll travel across certain areas with certain energies, depending on your state of mind. If your frequency is low, they can come in and start to suggest things, because your mind is always working off suggestions. You ask yourself, what do I feel like today? You're giving yourself an open-ended question, and then certain thoughts will come in. Oh, I feel like this. I feel like that. Who are coming up with those proposals? It's not you. You ask the question.
Yes.
That's why I said you don't think, you ask. And then you wait for different thoughts to come in. Oh, I want this, I want that. And certain energies will come and say, oh, I want this kind of thing, or I want that kind of thing, or I enjoy this, or I enjoy that. And you're like, that's a good idea. Let's try that. Who are you discussing this with,
You know, as you're saying that, how do people know to ask the right questions to their ancestors and not these foreign voices that is coming to use them?
But that's what we do in week 3, because we basically enable people to start to identify who it was they were speaking to.
Yes.
So that they could get one voice or two voices, but those two voices was all that they heard. And any other voice coming into their mind, they knew it was a foreign invader. So
people,
that way you was able to shut down unwanted thoughts. Go ahead.
So people are walking around with a lot of foreign, stuff going on. So when you see someone acting quite crazy and living in a crazy way,
I step back.
They've got too many frequencies going on there.
I'll ask who's talking to them. First thing I'll ask is, okay. The first thing you'll know if someone's okay is whether they've got control over themselves.
Yes.
Because an imbalanced person is imbalanced. And they're imbalanced because the conversations they're having in their head are not balanced.
That's
one
right.
minute is this, 1 minute is that, 1 minute is this, 1 minute is that. You know they're not really including their reality properly. So as soon as you see that, you step back because you have no idea if they have any control. That's why, again, overly emotional people are reflecting that there's various energies arguing within them. And they don't have control over it. That's why the first thing I'll say is, as soon as I see a guy who's over emotional, 1 minute he's angry, 1 minute he's that, I don't know who's advising him in his head.
Yeah, he's having something going on. He's
having some serious conversations with whoever, that he could have picked up some energy. He could have done all kind of things. So he's going through all those different things. I don't know who's there. Therefore, I just pull back, let him do what he wants to do in his environment, because there's no point me trying to interfere and then become at the mercy of one of those energies.
So, Brother Edison,
for a woman in that respect. Go ahead.
So you're saying people can just be going about their business and these entities just jump in because maybe they woke up and they weren't in, they're in a low frequency place within themselves, and that just leaves a door open for any negative entity. Entity
to walk in. Depending. This is where your protection of yourself comes in. And, we do a protection order. People start to protect their minds by having good, strong advisors in their mind. As soon as something's coming in which doesn't belong, they can feel it.
You know what? It's funny. And, I'm trying to bring over to people how they already do this with objects. Your computer, you have like a protection to stop the viruses attacking.
Exactly. Antivirus, of course.
So this is, wow. And so our ancestors are there to protect our minds, which is our sanctuary.
Well, our mind is the operating system of our soul.
Say that again,
because
please.
the mind is the operating system of your soul. Because what the mind does is allow you to process reality in this dimension. It's your mind that everything is taking place in. You live in your mind, you just sleep in different places.
Wow.
If your mind is not right, no matter what is going on outside you, you can't be at peace.
That is very true, and you see that all the time, yeah.
Exactly, that OCD, they need everything to be in order because their mind is not in order.
Wow.
Yeah? So therefore, your mind is the mind is what you can hear the sound. You hear the sound in your mind. You see the pictures in your mind. You see everything in your mind. But the energy creating all of those things, you can't see because that is your soul. Your soul is literally, your soul is the one that creates the voice that you hear in order so that it can experience itself in this dimension. So without the voice, you can't think of anything because you can't create the image. And even when you got the image, you need that voice to discuss it. That inner voice is what you need. So therefore, you're using those aspects to allow you to experience your external world as well as your internal world. It's that voice, that inner voice, which is a creation of you, not you. Because you speak out to the world, so your soul speaks into your head.
So it goes in and you push,
you push it out. You literally add from your voice box, you add a frequency, and your tone also comes out with the words that you're trying to utter, and then it's expounded from your voice. Then someone else who has the ability through their ear to condense that energy back into a word and into a tone. Yes. So it's literally our minds are the original telephone. Because we're transferring a signal and reconstructing it into a sound. Because you create a sound and then the signal is that's where, they got the concept from it, from your actual mind and what it effectively does.
Yes.
So there's no noise going on outside you. All there is just signals and waves. It's based on your capacity to convert that signal into sound determines what you can hear.
That's right. Wow.
Hence, someone who's deaf just can't translate their external waves into actual sound. But that doesn't mean they don't communicate in their own head.
For sure.
Because they can do sine waves to show you what they're still thinking.
Yes, for sure.
It's just that they don't have the capacity to convert the external waves into sound.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Deep stuff, Brother Edison. My gosh. How can people contact you? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, as we said. I'm on Facebook under Ancestral Essence, as we said at the beginning. So they can leave a note there, or they can simply make a friend's request on Facebook to Edison Agbandje. Yeah, I'm sure it will come up on the radio there. They'll be able to find me on that way. And yeah, they'll see on my actual Facebook page and on Ancestral Essence, there is a flyer with the actual course. And I have a telephone number on there under that post where they can call me if they need to call me to go through a few things. We're trying to work out how to do an online course later on in the year. And, you know, if we got enough interest to do that, then we can go forward and do that. I'm not sure it's going to be 4 hours of class, but we're going to try and do our best to condense it as best we can and give as much relevant information. And the class thing is fantastic because the reason why it takes so long is because we don't have a strict question and answer situation. As the course is going along, people can speak. So that way, because I know if I say, okay, hold that thought to later on in the class,
yes,
what happens is the person won't remember. By the time I've said what I've said, either there's two options. Either the person won't hear a thing that I've got to say for the rest of the class because they're trying to hold on to the image of that thought.
Yes, it's true. Yes,
yeah?
yes.
As soon as you ask a question and the person doesn't answer it, you don't actually hear anything they say afterwards until they answer that question.
For sure.
So that's why you have to acknowledge the question. Try your best to answer it so that person can move on and the class can move on. Because if you have enough people in the class that are held in suspension, basically trying to process what you've said, you didn't effectively get anything out.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
We're all moving as one body in the class. How I'm going to do that online is going to be an interesting challenge, one that I'm open to. So that's what we're hoping for. We're still doing the classes now. We've got, like we say, 5 more weeks to go down in North London. Not sure when this is going to be aired out, whether this is still going to be relevant. Or East London, I should say, 120A Lower Clapton Road, E5Q0QR, and they're held between 1 p.m. every Sunday till we finish what we got to say, which is usually about 4 or 5 o'clock. What's that?
Edison, is there a number that people can contact you on?
Yeah, there's a number they can contact me on. They can contact me on 0749 708 708 8138.
Can you repeat that?
Let me repeat that. I'll repeat it. 0749 708 8138.
Yeah. Wow. And you know the oils and the baths and the things that
That's
you have.
Right.
Can people?
Yeah, they can call up and we can explain them. We have healing oil. We have a protection and cleansing oil. We sell some dragon's blood oil.
What?
All of these have been charged. Yeah, well, no, you have to.
No, I know.
Dragon blood sounds crazy. If I tell you the things that people have attached to them, you know, in various parts of their body,
Yeah, can you mention a little bit about that? What sort of things are because when you're talking about people, you're talking about everybody. So every other people too might have some of these things.
Well, the thing is, humans are, there's the old saying where there's always been a history of dragons. Everywhere you go, there's always the concept of dragons.
Yes.
The Japanese swear by dragons,
Absolutely,
isn't it? The English used to have dragons. So this actual thing couldn't have come out of nowhere. So there must be a concept of some sort of dragon existing. If it's not this dimension, it's other dimension. Yeah? People are fixed on their physical body, being their arms, their legs, their heads, but they don't realize that their actual universes within themselves and their various dimensions within their own body. Yeah, the world where your heart operates is a different dimension within itself. Yeah, the world where your lungs operate and your mind is a place. It's not a thing. Yes. Because there's certain thoughts and memories that you have in your mind that you would not want to go anywhere near. What would you say? I said, do you want to go to that place where you're this happy? But I don't want to go there. Isn't that your exact language? I don't want to go there because you recognize there is a place.
Yeah, people do say that. That is a saying.
Yeah.
It's regularly said, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because when you appreciate that the mind is, when we say we don't think, we are. We're always searching. If I say I need you to think more, I want you to think a little bit more on that subject. I'm asking you to travel deeper inside yourself to look for a voice that has an answer to that question.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yes.
So you're traveling. You're traveling somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Therefore, again, your mind is a place. It's not a solid structure per se. It's really a dimension within itself. So certain energies, the same way you come from a place, other energies come from places as well. And other energies transfer into this dimension. So you have people with all kind of energy that don't resemble humans, basically existing all around their body in different places on different levels of existence.
Yeah.
So the dragon's blood is to really attack things that you're not even aware of existence because your mind hasn't been conditioned to believe those things. But further down, it's like a deeper cleanse because it's pulling out energies which, again, later on, the more you get to know yourself, you'll appreciate the existence of. So yeah, there's all kinds of things that we, do various forms of inserts that we have, which are unique to us per se, because we have them brought in from different places around the Caribbean and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just trying to create something where it's all about cleansing yourself and empowering yourself. Because the aim of the class is to teach you to look after yourself. It's not about us. We don't want you to be coming to us every 5 minutes afterwards. We'll give advice, but ultimately we want you to be in a position where you're not after you and your family, because this is the stuff that we all used to know. But as we say it one more time, the simplicity of religion has literally taken away from us. But now we're at the mercy of nothing, giving money for less. Giving money to church where we're not going to get anything out of it. That's what we're now sort of duty bound to, That's it. The intricate sciences and understandings and things like which we speak of, they should be commonplace because there's so much more deeper dimensions we can speak about, but unfortunately we're stuck at the basics.
Yeah.
Because the basics were never taught.
Yeah. So you're waking people up because, so that we can all start to transcend and go beyond and not be at this base level.
Well, they say being awake is not opening your eyes, it's opening your mind.
For sure.
Yeah, and if your mind isn't awake effectively to the realities existing outside of you and inside of you, then you're asleep. Yeah, and when certain things are taking place, you're sleepwalking. Because you're walking asleep through your life.
For sure.
So that's effectively it. So effectively what we're trying to do is, awaken you, the sleeping giant within.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, because the reason why they want us so badly and mimic us so badly, because in our creative state, we're unstoppable. It makes no sense that technology has moved so far forward, but our children can't do the most basic things. You know, when you look back at a 16 plus exam 50 years ago, it's harder.
Yes.
Even an 11 plus exam, 15-year-olds couldn't do it now. You know, 15, 16-year-olds. So why is it the education system is, you know, basically slowing our children down? But technology is moving forward.
Exactly.
These children
yes.
are supposed to be born much smarter than ourselves.
And they
it's
are.
only natural, and they're not. Well, they are born, but effectively,
it's not
they're
coming
being,
through.
you know,
yeah.
What did they say? Kill it before it grows?
Kill it before it grows. Definitely. And so they're pouring everything into making, and people think, oh yeah, I've got the latest this technology and that, and it's like, don't be excited about that. It means that you're no longer telepathic. That means you're no longer able to. Do you know what I mean? Don't be excited about, you know, what your phone can do and what your iPad can do.
It's all visual. And like we said, they've got everyone.
Yeah.
It shows you how far. You don't know how it's played. You don't know how it works. You just know what it looks like. And if you got everyone basically dealing with trigger words, visuals, status, and how people are supposed to feel towards them, and they're caught up in that cycle of emotion, you're not really going to get the best out of them. All you're going to get out of them is consumers, aren't they? They're not going to be creators anymore.
Well, that's
they're too busy.
Yeah, that's the training, is to how to become a consumer and, you know, not access your own intelligence, but, you know, the one that we get you to memorize.
Well, you got to understand how big businesses are involved in education. Because back then, they wanted to produce the consumers from the cradle.
Wow.
It's very insidious. It's very insidious when you see who's in control of what's being done. And people, for a little bit of money, they turn the other way, you know. It's not their children. They'll put their children in different kind of schools based off the money that they get.
That's right.
But they need a lot of fodder to basically run all the different things that these guys in their apparently elevated position want to actually believe that they are, you know?
Totally.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. But, you know, the fact is, once you find contentment in who you are and what you understand about yourself, all of it becomes external. You don't actually attach to it. You know?
And, you know, that's what I want you to do, Brother Edison. Just, you know, obviously this is deep stuff and there are some really, you know, gory things going on, you know. But what I want you to do is just leave with people the positive, you know, what is, you know, the positive outcome of owning your own mind, owning what goes in, what comes out, and, you know, detaching yourself from all these things that are just, you know, dumbing you down and you know, sucking your energy dry.
No, in truth, there are all those terrible aspects in life, but the reason why you're here is to learn how to move beyond them and become the original. You know, they use this term God so loosely, and I do dislike it in part because effectively it becomes a label which you no longer try to understand. Yeah, but you have to understand you are the creative aspect of your life. And again, you are pure magic, you know, pure wisdom, pure power. And within you, all things are possible. All the things they speak of religion, they're just speaking about you. They're speaking about you. All the things that all praise is due to you. Because if you're not the one who actually creates it, it doesn't happen. People say you didn't create this world. If you can't see this world, it doesn't exist.
That's right.
So therefore, if you create the ability to see the world, you then created your world.
Yeah. The creators, yeah, for sure.
You are the creator. So the more you can understand and appreciate who you are, the power that you have, the more that you can elevate out of any situation you believe that you're in. It's not that you're going to become a millionaire or this or that in the external world. It's that you're going to find your happiness, because people that are millionaires and have this and that in the external world are not necessarily happier than you.
No.
You can only still sleep in one bed. You can only eat whatever meals you can eat.
At a time, yeah.
What? So whatever you have, as long as you're comfortable in it, in your own mind, it's the same thing. We all wake up to the same sun. You don't wake up to a different sun. No?
It's very true.
So we're all the same. Everyone, no one is greater than you. They just, and the thing is, the way they've created this world is they've given you the idea of rich and poor. And it's always in comparison to somebody else. But you're rich in yourself if you believe in yourself. Yes. Then you're happy in yourself. You're operating in a whole different world to what everyone else is going with. And you're smiling because inside you're okay. Outside, you know, it's messed up because other people are going through what they're going through. Right. But inside yourself, you're fine. So you can walk around with that smile. No one can take that off you because no one can knock you off the concept that you're the one. You're the number one. You share your life with others. You may even have your children. Remember, as you don't belong to you belong to your parents by ideas. Your children belong to you by the idea. You created a vessel for them to come into this world. Right. But they've got their own story, their own purpose, journey. Like you have.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, as they say, you are the God that you're looking for. Yeah, you are that essence that will make you smile. You basically have to decide that today is the day that you're going to be the person that you were born to be. And no one has the right to tell you what that is. And once you appreciate that, then the only thing stopping you is you. So don't stop yourself.
Yeah. Wow, that is such a powerful message you've just given there, Brother Edison. I really, it really just, I just love the way you just closed that. It just came through and, just knocked, I think, some of these, low-level thinking and lack of confidence.
Got to come out of it,
the lack of confidence that's going around. It's just, and self-esteem issues. It's just, it's just not on. Considering
really
who we really are.
It really isn't. The physical, I remember the one I was going to laugh at is week 9, we go into the holistic spiritual health. And we go into the whole sexual side. And the dynamics, but we'll do that week 9. That's another thing. We'll talk about that one another day.
Can you, before you go, just touch on the sexual dynamics for a couple of minutes? Because I really wanted you to go into a little bit of that, but that probably will go for next time. But can you touch on that for 2 minutes?
That'll go for another episode. But effectively, what it is to explain that as much as we talked about the sexual organs and how they are intelligences within themselves, we have to remember they have their own spiritual energy matrix as well. So they can foster attraction. I mean, the woman's, private parts per se, that is the original black hole. That has a fantastic and most powerful magnetic frequency in the world.
Wow.
There's a reason why a guy can sleep with a woman and then spend his whole mind all day thinking about that woman.
Wow.
Because he's basically now got that magnet attached to him because he's connected with it. At that circuit he wants to complete all day. That's all he can think about. And the woman again wants that guy again to have that circuit to be completed again within her. Because remember, when two people come together, man and woman, it's the electric rod being put into the magnetic coil, which is the basis of electricity.
Yes. Yeah.
Electricity is based off watching a man and woman copulate. That's where it comes from. Yeah, but the thing is, the woman doesn't appreciate and the man doesn't appreciate that the actual act itself is exchanging all the frequencies of everything that they are with each other.
Wow.
And there's only 2 times in your life when your eyes are forced to close. When you sneeze and when you're at that point of orgasm. Because at that point, your actual whole body has to shut down in order to generate the frequency to propel that energy out of the guy as far as he can into the woman. And the woman has to shut down in order to open herself up to allow that frequency to come inside her.
You know that...
No,
you got to carry on. You've got to carry on.
Yeah, the thing about that frequency, what people don't appreciate, they're looking at the physical material, but the physical material is basically then propelled with the life force of the guy, all the intricacies, all the matrices, all the character, physical appearance, all of that is now propelled inside to the woman. So therefore, she might take the again, do whatever, take the chemical, the semen out, but the frequency of the man is still reverberating around it, reverberating inside her. And the same thing, the frequency of the woman when she's, spasming on the guy, all that frequency is life force, her life force going into that guy. And then he pulls away, and when they finish, they now both have each other's life force inside of each other, as well as just a physical act. All they think is, I just exchanged, that I've just had the sensation, but they literally are walking now around with the whole frequency of each other around it. Wow. And that becomes accumulated by each partner and each partner, because there's no physical way they know to remove that life force.
Brother Edison, I mean, because I kind of touched on this in another conversation, but what I think people don't realise is that this is not even just going on with the man and the woman, but this is going on. Sorry, it's not even just going on with the woman taking in this DNA, but
the man stores it in his pelvis area. He stores it in his pelvis area.
Is that what is causing later on some issues for men as well? Because I know men are having issues. And women are
having issues now. Again, effectively, you have to understand with all the different frequencies that are now being exchanged.
Wow.
The reason why we have illnesses is because our body can't handle the energies that are feeding off the organs that we have.
Oh, God. Brother Edison, repeat that again, please.
The reason why we have illnesses is because our body can't sustain the energies that are feeding off those organs. So the energies, the organs will collapse because the external energies or the internal energies are feeding off the life force of that organ.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you've got, it's a minefield, because we'll go into how there's various energies in the stomach feeding off the semen of the guy. It gets all crazy and convoluted. That's it. But anyhow, that'd be an interesting class.
But that'd be an interesting class. You know what? Honestly, that you've got to get that class out there. Get it recorded and something.
No, we're gonna record the class. We're trying to record all of them. That reminds me, I'm gonna check. Yeah, we're recording all the classes, but that one.
No, but that is really powerful.
I'm going to go to town on that one.
This is so powerful. To me, this is such a powerful piece of information about the DNA transfer, and there's not just people think they're exchanging liquid, but they're not realising that it's so much more than liquid
energy. I mean, the man's semen is the only thing that glows in the dark. That's how luminous the energy is in there.
Wow.
And then once it's there into the woman, it comes out dead. But where did that energy go?
Yes.
And then when the woman has back problems in her lower back, again, that's where all the... It goes on. It goes on a little low. So the energy is stored in the bottom of her, at the top of her, at the bottom of her back. That's where the energy is stored from the men shooting their life force into her.
So all these people running around, we're in the weekend. We're at the weekend point, and people running around thinking they're going to go out there, meet somebody, and chat them up and get lucky. Please, stop getting lucky.
Well, this is what I said at the very beginning.
I wish I knew this when I knew this was. This should be on the curriculum for young people. This should be on the curriculum for young people. Seriously.
But again, everything is sold on sex.
I know.
Yeah, because sex, in truth, is the how do you say? It's to convince a person without words. It's the literally where it's the no questions asked. If a man looks good enough, no one attractive enough, you don't ask questions where he comes from, because you don't want to spoil the sensation of what he appears to be to you. And the same thing with a woman. If she dresses well enough, she speaks without words. You don't ask her questions, because you want to stay in the energy feeling of that presence that she displays. She looks, oh my God, she looks so great. I don't want to say anything that's going to upset her or make her look bad. So I could lose the pleasure of the feeling that I'm getting at looking at her. So again, like I said, you can speak without words. and it shuts down the thinking mind. The whole thing is it shuts down the thinking mind so that you don't actually ask questions of your people about her. Because we refer to our ancestors as our people. You don't ask inner questions about the person because you're so taken by the outer appearance.
Yes.
You don't really want to listen. Oh my God, look at her, she's fantastic. And effectively, you don't want to hear or see that she says anything that could make you lose the quality of that sensation you feel when you're looking at.
Wow. Yeah, it's very, very deep, and I just think it's sad that people don't learn this at the beginning of their their sort of interest in the opposite. And it should definitely be taught. It shouldn't just be parents, saying silly things like, this is nasty and this is disgusting. It should be taught properly, as you've just explained it.
If it's constructively taught and the person can feel what it is that you're saying because you're going through things that they're actually experiencing, and that's questions that they've had within them that they just didn't ask. A woman could be having a great life, sleep with the wrong guy, and this guy's an unlucky man based on all the energies that he has attached with him. And he could be someone who's been cursed, for whatever better expression, with someone who's basically exchanged words or expounded words with a negative twist that now is operating in this guy's energy field. So wherever he goes, this energy will bring bad luck to him because the person created a magnet frequency in the guy's environment to attract that ill thing. And now the woman speaks to this guy, and this guy now puts that energy on her.
Brother Edison, man, come on. People are not going to be able to take this in. No way. Good Lord. That is no. I get it and I hear it, and you don't hear people. How many conversations do you hear on a daily basis about like this? But people are going to be like, what are you telling me?
Well, effectively, that's it. The same way a guy can sleep with a woman that again, being cursed through whatever situation, whatever scenario, people wish ill towards her and all that kind of thing. He sleeps, that's his luck gone. He was there, had this and that, and all of a sudden he didn't check all these things beforehand because he was looking for the sensation. Both of them were looking for the sensation, but not able to understand who the people that they are really getting involved with. And bang, there it is. Everything that other person is now you. You just consentingly, because the whole thing is when you're having that be orgasm moment, your spirit shuts down, your brain shuts down, and that's when both of the energies can completely merge because you're both defenseless at that time. Because your eyes are not looking, your eyes are closed, you're defenseless.
So
the same thing when the Muslims, when someone sneezes, they say Barakallah. Recreate me, Allah, because they know that when they sneeze, their heart stops. And therefore they're dead for a second. And then when they come back to life, they're now back alive. But they thank Allah for recreating them.
Wow.
But therefore, again, at that same time, when everything stops, you shut down. And all of a sudden now, everything, your creation, their creation can come, merge, and be one. And then again, you both wake up, and then the job has already been done.
So, let me just ask you this. All these people running around with friends with benefits and ludos and, one-night stands and... is it one-night stands? Sorry, I'm not...
one-night stands, all that kind of stuff.
One-night stands and
they might not even remember when their life turned out a certain way.
Wow.
They won't even remember. They can't remember that person.
Yeah. And I'm not sitting there as some what do you call it? Some hypocrite. And I was young once too, and I'm not it's. But what I'm trying to say.
You lived your life.
Yeah.
All right. I lived my life too. I ain't gonna claim otherwise.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say I've always been old and I've always been, but what I'm trying to say is But it's definitely worse now. You know, people really don't understand what they're doing. I mean, there's no way in my day anyone talked about friends with benefits and the man and the woman would go off together knowing what they were going for. It was always expected that if you're with a guy, you know, something's going to come of it, even if in the back of his mind he was thinking it was something else.
Effectively.
But what I'm saying is now people think it's okay to do that. And, you know, obviously, clearly from what you're saying, it's definitely not okay to be living your life like that. From partner to partner, from one day to the next.
You see, there's a caveat, or there is a situation where young will do what the young is supposed to do. So as much as I would love to tell the young, don't do this, don't do that, these are people that they're supposed to meet. This is what I said. Your life is your journey, and the people you meet are the destination. Yeah. So everyone you meet is a destination on your route
journey
in this life. God. So therefore, as much as I would love to say you can avoid it, you can't. When you become aware of it, is at the time you're supposed to become aware of it. So some people could go their whole life and never hear about this. But when they're meant to hear about it, is when they're meant to hear about it.
That is powerful. So you're saying if whoever gets to hear this kind of information, it's because it's their time to hear it.
It's their time to hear it.
Wow.
And it'll be their time to think of it, because on a soul level, they would have called for this information to come into their purview. So now they can hear it and say, oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear, because that's what I was inside. That question was being asked, and they wanted to get an answer to that question. So it will be at the time. Some people will never hear it because they weren't meant to. Don't get me wrong. They will go through lifetime looking to fix it, but they'll fix it when they're meant to stop and fix it.
Wow.
Yeah. So when the time comes, there's always a bigger picture and wider story to what we're seeing. That's why, again, you can't work with judgment, but you know when you're dealing with someone now, once you become aware, what is it you're going through, you know? And this is part of life. It's all the experiences, isn't it? The experiences teaches you wisdom.
Of course. Without the experiences, you would not. You wouldn't
even know the things.
Exactly.
So in this situation, don't get me wrong, you can clear these energies. That's another story down the road. There's ways of clearing these energies.
You've got to come back and tell us about how to clear these energies.
Again, that's slightly different. We'll work out there's a case where you can clear these energies.
Wow.
And this is where we get into the bath, and we're trying to encourage people to get into their own understanding of themselves so that they can start to work with their own family recipes to get rid of these things. We have our lines that we can share what we can share, because everyone has their own little secrets. But that said, you can work out your own through your own actions, and as long as you don't get into the whole false positive. When people are falsely saying, I'm okay, when they're not okay. They know they're not okay, because they know when they're quiet, their minds are plaguing them, but they keep trying to tell themselves they're okay, like that's going to fix it, you know, which it obviously doesn't. So, so that never works.
You know, we've done 2 hours and 32 minutes, Brother Edison, and my mind is like, whoa, it's wide open, like, you know, it's like it's been, and this is a conversation. This is what you call a conversation. It's been
as we said, we haven't got there yet. We're speaking about the possibilities, not the realities, and how you go through it. But it does first start with you making the connection with yourself.
Yes.
And then when you're hearing and reasoning, you're reasoning with your mind wide open, not shut off by different triggers that are closing your spectrum of what you can look at. Your mind is wide open because you've got all the people that are advising you, listening with you. And when they're listening with you, the discussion that you're going to have afterwards is different.
That's right.
And when you know who you're discussing with, the level of information you're going to come out with. Because remember, every time you've spoken, or every time you speak, is after you've taken advice.
Say that again.
Yeah?
Say that again.
Every time you speak, is after you've taken advice from the different voices in your head. As soon soon as I say something to you, there's a voice waiting at the other end of once you built the picture to have the discussion with you about what I've just spoken about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you'll say, what does that mean? Then they say, oh, he's trying to say this, he's trying to say that, he's trying to say this. What do you think about that? And you have that little conversation. That's why people give silent gaps between conversations. Yeah, because again, they're trying to process what they just heard.
That's right.
Some people can do it simultaneously. You learn to do that simultaneously when you have control of the voices or the ancestors in your head, because they are speaking to you when you're speaking to someone else. You know, and this is how it eventually becomes down the road. But again, you know, you have to sit there and ask yourself these questions, and this is where you come out with these answers. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I tell you, yeah, it's been an incredible conversation journey. And
no problem.
No doubt we'll be doing this again and again.
When you're ready, Imani. When you're ready, Imani. Like we said, we normally do 4 or 5 hours of class. This is the day. We've got, 10 of these. And this is how we go, We've got that much more information, and literally I'm pushing them as far as they can go, and as far as they can go. Because again, all I really want is for them, once they've got their inner self woken up, they're just going to sail into themselves. And when they sail into themselves, they're going to realize what they've been told, what they've been shown, really was just to keep them slow. It was really, that's what it was.
Sure.
So once they speed up, then all of a sudden they'll be processing their reality that much faster, and they'll be able to see things that were always there, that was hidden in their point of view.
Plain view, isn't it?
It was hidden in their point of view, because they couldn't see it, because they didn't believe it.
Wow. Brother Edison, just give your details again, just in case people didn't catch it the first time.
No, where they can find me on Ancestral Essence, or find me on Facebook. We haven't got a web page that's under construction, as everyone says. But again, I didn't know I needed a web page, but as things are picking up, we need to go in that direction.
I think so.
You can contact me on 0749 708 8138. We do consultation, so we can actually enable you to connect with your ancestors over the phone. Obviously, there's a charge, not too much, because we're really not about the money. In fact, the classes that we do for all that we're speaking of for those 4 hours is only £10 a class.
Oh, that's
so
incredible.
It's £10 a class. That's it. It's not no big £400-500 a class or this or that. Because again, we just wanted it out for the community to get it. And the thing is, the things that we do privately, if someone comes up to us with a situation, I was having people come to me and say, Eddie, can you do this and do that? And I'm like, and again, you know how it is. I'm going to look at the person. We're going to go to speak to the people. Do you have the money for this? And the answer is, they might not. So I'm not good. I don't have the heart in me to say I'm going to take what you don't have.
Exactly.
But in the same breath, I can't go put myself in a situation where I'm going to risk my life for strangers. Yeah. So I said, let me teach a course where I can give people an idea and a basis of how to do these things.
Yes.
So at least they can start to help themselves if they don't have the money to pay for someone to do it properly. Because in honesty, I'm not going to go clear a spirit in a house, but the spirit is going to try and it's going to be annoyed that I'm trying to clear it, to try to affect my family as a result of it.
Wow.
And you're not going to take on that burden or that situation because someone is smiling at you very nicely,
Never
it's like that.
So
again, it's like that. So the money that you're asking is really to take the impact of what it is on you. So I'd rather say, you know what, I'm not going to put myself in that unless the person can genuinely afford it. I would literally say, come to the class. We'll teach you what we can so that you can start to help yourself, and you'll be able to afford £10 a week because that's nothing in compared to what other people are saying. Gosh. I had a melanoma ceremony, and I love his book and I love what he's doing, and I wouldn't want to compare myself to what he knows because I don't know what he knows. But he's charging like $4,000 for the same thing.
Who's this? Sorry, who's that? Who's doing this?
Melodoma Somi, who wrote the book of Water and Spirit. I wouldn't claim to know what he knows because I don't know what he knows. I know he knows a hell of a lot. And that book changed my life when I was coming up through the ranks sort of thing, and I didn't trust myself. But he's charging £4,000 for the same thing.
Wow.
Sorry, $4,000. Let me clarify that quickly. $4,000. But again, but that's really what it is. So we really want people to get it so that we can have more people in the community being who they authentically are. There's a lot of women that we always come across and men that have capacity to understand the most phenomenal things, but they've been scared all their life because someone's kind of told them it's wrong and no one's allowed them to actually be who they are, you know? The church has shut all these people down so that these people just can't be, and they're like imprisoned in themselves. They want to get going, but they're stuck at what other people might think of them.
For sure.
So in the class, we have a load of people like that with those kind of capabilities that have found a home where everyone is that way inclined. And we're trying to make it sound as simple as possible so that they can put structure to their own thoughts.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's time for people to wake up, take back their power, and, live, come here and live the purpose that they came here for.
Effectively, the soul came on a mission. We have a simple saying that your soul writes the script. You, the observer, is just got a chair in the actual play.
Sure.
You think you can change things either way, but ultimately the soul is writing the script. So what's going to happen today is going to happen today. Whatever you can complain, you're complaining at the show, but you can't change it because you're not the one in control.
That's it.
And the whole trick is trying to get to your conscious mind to get back home to the soul. Therefore, you're in total control. Up until that point, and that's a big journey. And trust me, that's a massive challenge in itself. But that is why we're never bored. People that are really into this are never bored, and they live and breathe it. They love it. That's why I said I love doing it. The class is 2 hours. We make it 4 hours because we enjoy it.
Of course.
Should be only 2 hours if I was doing it by numbers.
It's what the soul wants. And it's funny, when you were saying something there about going in and clearing for people and the spirit, that's there, the entity that's there, it just makes you realise that, there is so much shutting people down. And when you see a person, like you're saying, you don't realise what is really hovering all around them and shutting them down. And and even with yourself as well, it's like people don't realise. So how can people detect whether they've got, or would you say anything that is from procrastination to just feeling?
But the thing is, they're simple physical cues, I should say. All right, you have a scenario. If you're sitting by someone and you automatically feel tired, you start to feel dreary. And that is a case where the energy on the person is literally trying to enter into your system. Your system is trying to shut down to preserve itself.
Hold on, hang on. So I get on the bus and I sit next to someone.
And you start feeling tired. That's something kicking off that person. What?
Really?
Yeah, you have it where you also start sweating profusely around a person for no reason.
What?
All of a sudden you start sweating. That's an indication of your body, again, trying to sweat out the invasion of what's taking place.
Oh, my God.
You also have a scenario where you get a headache. You just go around someone, and all of a sudden you get a blinding headache just talking from them. Again, your body trying to stop the invasion of someone, another energy trying to come through your skin into your system. And you have the one where the pain, you get a pain in the middle. Well, sadly, this is the common stuff. I wish it was the complex stuff.
What?
You have a situation where you have a pain in the middle of your back.
Yes.
And that's, again, when an energy is trying to come in by the one place you can't actually see in your body. They come in via the back or the top of the head.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
So they come in right in the middle of the back or the top of the head. So, yeah, that's what they try and do, irritate your skin. So many people are living with so many of these things, and they just can't talk about it because people don't want to believe them or can't believe them. And they've seen things. When you start to speak to people and they look at you and they say, would this guy understand? And they start saying things, you go, yeah, I understand. You'd be amazed what the average man next to you is actually going through all the time, what young women are going through, what young guys are going through, but they can't express it because no one really wants to believe them.
So
but they're going for real things.
So people, you know, when they're seeing things, obviously the veils for them are kind of, you know, not as, you know, is a bit more wide open. I mean, what can, you know, because that must be difficult if you're a young person and you're seeing things, you know, and nobody...
Well, the best way to look, to speak of this dimension when you open your eyes is like a radio station, yeah? And you're locked into frequency, yeah?
Yes.
But some people have the mind capacity to basically change the dial.
Yes.
And then therefore they can see other frequencies existing in the same place.
Time, yes. Yeah.
And then change it again and see other frequency. And they naturally have this ability because they were born with this ability.
It, yes.
So they will see other energies hanging around you, which you can't see because your mind is locked into earth frequency alone. So as soon as you expand your mind, you start to see the room full up with all different energies that were there all the time.
Hold on, Brother Edison, you can't just run off like that. You said the room full up. What do you mean? Come on,
the room is full up with all different energies.
Can you see things? Can you see that? Can you see that?
Of course.
So
again, what you realize.
Say that. The room full up, and you just carried on talking as if you were talking about.
That's where it sounded fair. Sometimes for some people it's like, wow, and then for some people it's like, yeah, okay, and the rest. It's really like that.
The room full up.
The people you
Lord have mercy.
Sorry.
Oh my God. So what do you? So okay. So when you say you go to someone's home and is this when you're going to clear for people, or is this just in general you're seeing?
Well, this is in general. The thing is, thankfully, you learn. This is why I said you work with your ancestors, because some people are doing this uncontrolled, and they're just seeing things and walking around and going through all these things all the time, and they got no control over it. So the thing is, what you always try and do is be able to switch it on and switch it off when you can.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing we teach in the course. Not be an uncontrolled medium, be a controlled medium.
Absolutely.
This is the further information. Once you can ascertain what the person is going through, then you can start to prescribe certain things they can do to make their mind and life a bit easier. You know, but you have to understand that as far as you know, everything is happening at the same time. So if everything is happening at the same time, all that's really happening is they're existing on different wavelengths of frequency.
Yes. Yeah.
So you could be sitting there and you could basically start to see Romans marching past you.
From the
if you shut your mind down, you'd be able to go to the time frame frequency, switch your brain off from this frequency and pick up another radio frequency of another reality in that same place.
Yeah, I hear that and I get that. You know, and what is also coming through as you're saying that, it's making me feel that you mentioned an uncontrolled medium. An uncontrolled medium is somebody now who might be hospitalised because they can't control. They're saying they've seen things. Their family might think, oh my God, you know, something's not right. Get them sectioned, and then they're on medication, and now they're labelled schizophrenic or something. Yeah. So this is why it's so important for people to know someone like you who can actually help that person to control, you know, the situation that's going on with them with these frequencies.
This is the thing. It depends on where they are because, I mean physically, I mean where they are within that whole spectrum of things. Because you've got people that have energies that are effectively in control of them. All right, energies that are speaking to them so loudly and so clearly and so powerfully in their voice and asking them to do some dark things.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's that side of it, but then there's people that genuinely have a scenario where now and again they can see things. Now and again they get messages. Now and again they get all these different kind of things. Now and again they'll be sitting next to someone and the person's relative will come up to them and say, and start speaking to them. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting a message from your grandfather, because the grandfather's sitting next to them, between them and the person, just trying to see, because they could be talking to their child all the time.
Yeah, because
their child doesn't hear.
Hearing.
So all of a sudden, someone who's near who can hear picks up, go, oh, what's that? And the person goes, what, you can hear? My God. And then start speaking to them.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, this is the thing, again, like a lot of people say, look, when we die, that's it. We've just gone and forgotten.
Yeah, it's the religious guys that say that, because they do not want to pay the debt when they get over there. Imagine the pastors, my God, you don't want to go into that story. Imagine all that money they've collated, and they know that they can't give that to anyone. There's no God that they can actually give it to.
No.
Imagine the most terrible thing. You're collecting money for a concept that you know is not tangible.
Well, it goes to the Pope, isn't it? A lot of it goes to the Pope. And then
imagine
the
a lot. The Pope, but all these other pastors collecting money, and it's just growing in the bank. And they become embarrassed because they're like, oh my God, I've collected hundreds of thousands here.
Millions.
Where's God that I can send it to? I can't send it to God. I can't send it to Jesus, because that's in the book. I've got to spend the money. And then they create a scenario where they can make a committee that can turn around and say, well, the committee says I can spend the money on a new car or on a new house or on a new situation. But effectively, they collected that money and they all of a sudden realize, I can't send it to God, because God don't exist. It exists as a concept, but not as a reality. And the thing is, they want to help the poor, but which poor do they want to help? The money is coming in faster than they can count it. So they're caught in a scenario where they're still asking for money, because they can't go to the church, congregation, and say, we're good, we got enough money, let's all just pray. They can't do that. They're still asking for more and asking for more new ways in which they can have that more.
No, that's wicked and bad, really, isn't it? When you
it's
think
wicked
about
and bad. It's wicked and bad. So when they catch up over the other side, and the people say, "But wait,
where's my money?
Where's our money?" They say, "What did you take our money for? We had to go without, had to sacrifice, had to suffer, so that you can enjoy it, because you can't tell us where that money." There's a point where when you wake up, certain things don't make sense.
Sure.
And you can say, "Oh, when he's doing it, and he's got." That's when the pastor is like pumping all those concepts into your head. You know how it is. We do a good song, we chant, we raise our voices. Then they say, let us pray. At that point where you chanted and opened your mind right up, that's when they pour in the sermon right into your head. So that's when the program goes direct into your subconscious, or into a lower consciousness of your mind, a deeper consciousness, very much closer to the core of who you are.
Wow.
So therefore, this is why it makes you laugh. When you ask someone something, they repeat back what the pastor said to them. They don't repeat back what they think, they repeat what the pastor said.
Yeah.
And when you actually challenge them further, you see that the person runs out of script. Says, oh God, I need to talk to my pastor. I haven't got the script in order to do that. So imagine the pastor's giving them the script and shut down their own mind.
Wow.
So that person shut down. So like education, it's a very wicked pastime,
Education too, all these different, from government to,
all that kind of thing. They're literally shutting down your mind as much as they can, so that when you're having a conversation with yourself, you're basically using their words to express yourself. And you're working using their programs to actually experience your reality.
Wow.
So it's a very difficult thing. So, you get to understand the whole thing on many different levels when you kind of wake up yourself and say, hold on, you were doing that? So I can't tell you the fate of them guys when they get over this. And that's why they say there's nothing over this, because they don't want to face the deal.
They don't want to face it when they have to go over it.
They don't want to face when they get a
thousands of people,
all sitting there and say, where's my money at? Where's this house that God was supposed to build? Where's this house that you took all that money for? you know, and they go to God. It's the old joke we used to say, when they go to the God, once they crossed over and say, well, there's no God in that sense. But when they go over and they say, oh, where's my house? Where's my building? And, you know, someone looks at them and says, exactly how was the money supposed to get here?
Well,
where was we supposed to keep the money? Do we have bank? Do we have an exchange rate? Did we prefer yen or did we prefer dollars? Or did we prefer whatever paper that you were sending? And all of a sudden, the realization of the madness of it actually hits them that it doesn't make no sense. There's no exchange rate, there's no inflation, and people are giving you blood, sweat, and tears for paper with pictures on it.
Wow.
That's humans decide the value of it. The naira in Nigeria is how many hundred to the pound? So therefore, if you gave God naira, 1 naira or 20 naira, is that the same as 20 pounds?
Wow, this is it, isn't it?
Not here, but it's over there, isn't it? So it's over here, but over there it's same paper, isn't it? As we get, oh no, I think the economy in that country was a bit better than the economy in that country, so that money's worth more money.
So it's about, you know, because the whole point of this journey is to bring the spiritual here and materialize it. But what's happening is the exchanges, you know, that people are giving up their gifts that they came with from
giving up their power,
and they're taking these material, dead, precipitated stuff, and like you say, it means nothing because you can't take it with you when you go. Yeah.
Artificial destiny. You're there trying to acquire something that you can't take with you, that you can't feed on a soul level.
So hence,
I mean, you can't eat the money. You can only eat the food it buys.
Yeah. So so this is where the vengeance comes from, then, where people keep coming back here because they've got unfinished business.
Well, the vengeance is really a case where there's some really wicked people in this world, and people that have really harmed people very unnecessarily. So there's nothing more weak than human greed. You know, humans are really greedy things, you know, and they would take what a man earns or what a man has and just squander it for entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So essentially, you know, some people have really hurt people physically. You know, when a man is beating a woman, you know, he's coming back as a woman to be beaten by another man.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So when you start to understand those things, or as we said, the parent beating the child, you know, just, you know, prepare yourself. That's your turn next time, you know? So there's various different things. And if you're, you know, harming someone, and then you expect to be harmed, that's why when someone comes to us to say, okay, we want her to be helped, the first thing I'm going to do is look at them and say, do you kind of deserve it? So I'm looking at past line and see if they deserve it. That might sound real harsh, but the fact is, if they're getting what they gave someone else, then who am I to stop it?
So this is the thing as well. Suffering. People suffering. People going through various different suffering. Are they really? Is it all, every single suffering?
Well,
is it really?
The thing is, go on.
Is it really from their own past behaviour that they're repeating and you know, paying the price?
Well, you see, suffering is a point of view. All right? The thing is, every pain in your body is your body that creates it. Yeah? Don't get me wrong. Even if I hit you, there's various ways through beaming technique, all these chi, all these different Chinese things where you can, the play doesn't even actually, you don't feel the pain.
Yes,
yeah?
for sure.
So therefore, there's various techniques that can do that. Now, if I can say a certain word to you and say it in a certain tone, I can get you to generate an image that will be painful to you.
Yes.
And then you're physically going to feel pain over the words that I've just said to you.
For sure.
Now, if you find a situation where I say a word to you and you don't process that word, because you know that that word has been sent to create an image, to create pain inside you. Therefore, you didn't feel any pain.
So people.
So just by knowing that, you could block someone using words or actions or images to basically harm you.
Yes.
Be very careful of what you externally digest.
Mm.
When you see someone coming with a certain concept, ignore it, because you know that once you process that concept, you're going to create an image that's going to put you in pain.
Yes. So we put ourselves in pain by the meaning we attach to things that are said. Yeah.
A child is forced to suffer because a child is in a position where it can't help itself.
Mm.
That's why people's personalities are based on how well they got over their childhood.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was the period where they couldn't deal with things. And once they can get over that and put it in its place, then they can get to a position when they're older, they choose which emotions and feelings and ideas they wish to process. And when they do so, they decide on what pain they put themselves in or what pain they don't put themselves in.
Okay. Brother Edison, I am down to 3 hours is the show. I'm down to less than a minute. What do you want to leave? What would you like to leave people with?
Again? The God you seek is within yourself. The reason why you close your eyes to pray is because you innately understand that that is the only way. Yeah? Be the best you can be for yourself. Be your own best friend. Because if you're the one constantly putting yourself down, you're the one who's going to feel every word that you say. Trust yourself, because you're the only one who has your best interest at heart.
Wow, thank you. We've just gone over 3 hours. Thank you so much, Brother Edison. You're amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
blessed.
Much. Take care.
Thank you.
Now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.